America's biggest off-road race, and quite likely one of the, if not the world's largest off-road race, as we are boasting over 2,000 riders, somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,400 riders, plus a record spectator crowd as we celebrate the 22nd running of this AMSOIL Ironman GNCC. And now, race fans, it's time to meet your starting lineup for this, the AMSOIL Ironman GNCC. Rolling to the line first today, fresh off a championship win against the world as a part of the ISDE team. He is as well a four-time GNCC champion, hailing from Boonville, North Carolina on an FMF factory KTM, the number one, Caleb Russell. Rolling to the line next today, he is third in points, riding aboard the number 7, hailing from Cookeville, Tennessee on a Westfield Power Sports KTM presented by Moose Racing, Jordan Ashburn. Rolling to the line next today, he is fourth in points. He rides aboard the number 5 machine. He hails out of Williamstown, West Virginia, also a part of the amazing ISDE overall win team. On the Rocky Mountain KR4 Moose Racing Husqvarna from Williamstown, West Virginia, Bad Thad Duval. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 514. He hails from Belton, South Carolina on a KTM SRT KTM, Stu Baylor. Stu, a former XC2 Pro Lights champion, as we go to our next rider in the roster, riding aboard the number 212 from Washington, now calling the great state of Indiana home on an MCS Racing Suzuki, backed by Obermeyer, Kenda, MX Tech, and Fly Racing. He's rough, he's rowdy, Ricky Russell. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 314 from Belton, South Carolina on Infab Ampro Yamaha, Grant Baylor. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 4, one of Indiana's own from Crown Point on a JCR Racing Honda, Chris Bach. And next, rolling to the line, a multi-time national enduro champion. He hails from Jefferson, Georgia on an FMF KTM factory racing machine. Aboard the number 113, Russell Bobbitt. Rolling to the line next, he is aboard the number 219, his first ever GNCC from the world of motocross racing. From Westville, Indiana, on board the Yamaha, Shane Sewell. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 460 from Sedalia, Colorado on a KTM Brazil, Scott Bright, KTM of Aspen, Ian White. Rolling to the line next, a product of the GNCC himself, fresh off a national enduro win just a few weeks ago. He rides aboard the 121 from Logan, Ohio on a KTM SRT KTM, Corey Buttrick. Rolling to the line next, riding aboard the number 410 from Birdsboro, Pennsylvania on the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna Factory Racing Husky, Andrew DeLong. And last and certainly not least, fresh off a second place finish in the Junior Trophy in the junior trophy classes there from the Trail Jesters. And he also just picked himself up a brand new factory ride with NFAB and Pro Yamaha MSR, making his XC1 Pro Racing debut from Harwinton, Connecticut, Ben Kelly. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this, the AMSOIL Ironman GNCC. And we tell these riders to fire them up one final time in this warm-up moment as we get set to roll into the hills and valleys of Indiana from the shadows of Indianapolis itself, my friends. And of course, the capital of racing here in America is what I consider Indiana, with the Indianapolis 500 just up the road. And of course, with this now, the largest off-road race in the world, with all these amateurs racing here, and of course you being a part of it, we are certainly an epicenter of racing, and we are certainly proud to be a huge and monumental part of that. Some 800, nearly 900 riders pushing in there. Actually, this morning with the youth riders, about 1,000 plus riders, and already we're looking at another over 300 riders on the starting line here this afternoon. Record numbers, over 1,000 ATV and UTV participants yesterday. And again, just looking around the masses that are here with us, a great place to be and a great event to be a part of. For those of you watching along on RacerTV.com, we welcome you from around the world right now. And we know that each and every one of you wish that you could be right here with us here today. 1 minute before the start of this GNCC here today, folks. And already I believe that the anxieties and the anticipations are beginning to build across this field of riders, as everyone knows and feels the specialness of this event. What would it mean to win the Ironman GNCC, especially on a day like today? What would it mean for a first-time XC1 Pro Class rider to win that race? What would it mean for a crossover rider, his first time at a GNCC, to win that race? Stick around. We'll find out if it's possible. The blue flag is out. Shut them down, guys. Shut them down. Shut them down. Shut them down. And I got to ask you, Indiana race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Come on, Indiana. That's good. That's real good. But I got to tell you right now, we know we're a part of something historic and something magical here today. So I want to feel it. I want the folks at home across RacerTV.com and around the world to feel it as well. I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready to go Ironman GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at this AMSOIL Ironman GNCC. Around the first turn, our riders are making their way now, and it's going to be the 212 of the new Indiana Hoosier, Ricky Russell, grabbing the whole shot, and $250 here today in this XC1 Pro whole shot. Up next, the XC2 Pro Lights class. We got Trevor Bollinger, Craig DeLong, Jesse Grom, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Luke Parsons, Nathan Thornhill, Joshua Lee, Austin Lee, the son of Fast Eddie Edmondson, Jack Edmondson here, Josh Toth, Harrison Helmick, Michael Witkowski, Vance Francis, Evan Smith, Mark Horesco, Tanner Hodati, Lane Michael, Tegan Temple, Nick Davis, Hayden Halstead, Zach Maley, Mason Atherton, Mason Emmerling, and Clayton Gerstner, ready to roll in 10 seconds. And the long wait till the waving of that green flag for these XC2 Pro Lights is over as they dash toward the first, now second turn. It's the 282. That is Michael Witkowski from North Liberty, Indiana. Whole shots by Indiana boys already today, and he's on an RPM KTM. As we get set to roll with row number 3, the 208 class, Chris Douglas, Evan Barnor, Jace Knopp, Jesse Ansley, Hunter Raymer, also Dawson Driscoll, Brandon Hayes, Zachary Hugel, Chase Hayes, and also Josh Lyons and Braden Moore, ready to roll in 10 seconds. wait sometimes seems to be so monumental before those kickstarts go down. But here we roll into the first turn, out, and now the mad dash toward that second turn. And the early lead goes to the 329 of Mayaca City, Florida's Jesse Ansley. Ansley on the RPM Racing TF Suspension Action KTM. Up next, 250A classes. We got Chris Vendetti, Derek Douglas, Andrew Boggs, Sean Benhart, Brewer Carley, Evan Earl, Cameron Sisk, Ryan Slopko, Tyler Murphy, Timmy Steiner, Alex Teagarden, Owen Geis, also Braxton Bill, Colin Cook, Sam Mattingly, Ronnie Beach, Cody Lazenby, also Josh Farrell, Matthew McDonald. 10 seconds. Ryan Grotgut, also Logan Kiddick, Cody Barnes, Tyler Brandon, Sam Shaver, Maxwell Randolph, Zachary Muhuron, Drake Lineback, Justin Froon, Logan Papul, and Jake Froman now rolling into that first turn. And it is the 45 of Sean Benhart from Smithfield, Virginia on the Bel-Ray WER Suspension Enduro Engineering back machine. Four-stroke A lights class coming up next. Braxton McGee, Hunter Shelton, Drew Bolton, Colin Keegan, Chris McManus, Russell Smith, Spencer Berkey, Sam Forrester, Colton Renschke, Nicholas Swinson, Eric Ross, Preston Wheeler, also Tyler Darman, Dustin Simpson, Larry Sylvia, Cope Becker. 10 seconds. Nathan Ferderer, Eric Souders, Luke Chilman, Tristan Landrum, Cody Aliff, and Nick O'Brien. Around the first turn, the four-stroke A lights. The four-stroke A lights making their way now. It's a 7:04 of Tristan Landrum. Landrum out of Nelsonville, Ohio on a Mountain Power, Morgantown Power back machine. Also Morgantown Power Sports, Fly Racing, and Bonsai Engine back machine. There we go, Open A bike class. Dylan Rash, Vincent Smith, Brady Meyer, Spencer Hoyt, Grant Marriott, Austin Butler, Cole Kirkhoff, Mark Turpka, Zach Tussle, David Hall, Tim Murphy, Ted Mullins, Ryan Prince. 10 seconds. Tom Wagner, Hunter McDaniel. Also Juan Hardes, Justin Leonard, Dustin Ulrich, Colin Thomas, Joel Compton, Zach Dotson, Michael Pillar, Hunter Maddox, Tyler Mullins, Alex Witkowski, Dayton Webb, and Zach Perry rolling now into that first turn. Around the first turn they go. Pointing into the second turn, who's it going to be? How about the 5-7-9 of Alex Witkowski out of North Liberty, Indiana on the Beta machine, getting the early lead in this Open A class. We go to the Junior AB 25-plus class now with Ian Smith, Mason Stevens, David Schmidt, Joseph McCarty, Justin Denius, Kevin Simons, also Brandon Peterson, Cody Struby, Anthony Mann, Lucas Towerley. 10 seconds. Lane Hosler, Jesse Kildlow, Logan Chilman, Derek Spangler, Eric France, and Josh Keys. Around the first turn we roll now with this Junior AB class. Oh, looks like it's going to be the 426 Joseph McCarty from Mount Clair, West Virginia on the MCI Racing RG Honda, backed by Outlaw. And also Senior A 40-plus cast coming up next. Todd Gearing, Rick Burton, Frank Tussle, Leonard Baca, Jamie McDaniel, Travis Grooms, Rob Brown, Eric Church, Corey Thorson, Kenneth O'Connor, Bob Bergman, and Jeff Husted. 10 seconds for the Senior A 40-plus class. And another long wait, it seemed like. Hey, there's Rob Brown out of Drury, Massachusetts there with the big fro. A lot of folks might know him by Fro Man. And look at that, he's about third off the start, but it's the 484, I believe, grabbing that early lead. So we'll move to our Vet A 30-plus class next. Joe Marsh, Jesse Osnar, Big Jim Steiner, also Ryan Inman, Brock Grafe, Mark Weeks, Greg Menzel, John Menzel. 10 seconds. Brian Hollingsheads, TJ Ernie, Anthony Guinta, also Cole Reese, Joe Dean, Jordan Outs, and Brian Garahan. I thought I saw Brian Garahan here earlier. Welcome back to the GNCC Nation, my brother. That might have been TJ Ernie. Now it's a Yamaha there, but I might. Couldn't quite catch the number on that one as we go to next, the 4-stroke B lights class with Justin Murphy, Hunter Williams, Bolton Biroth, Troy Lieberman, Brendan Poling, Kyle Williams, Colton Kinsler, Chad Moore, Kevin Wilson, Austin Legg. 10 seconds. Joe Spivey, Nick Bolzer, Jake Darman, Kyle Hendrick, Langdon Feltner, Samuel Wolf, Mario Tonsner, and Dawson Webb. 4-stroke B lights class now. And woohoo! May have been Austin Legg on that Husqvarna out of McDonald, PA, grabbing the early lead. 4:31, I think, was the number on that. 250B, James Harshberger, Matthew Davis, Kyle Prismont, Will Buskirk. Also looking at Caleb Cloyd, Tyler Scott, Noah Smet, Chase Terry, Ryder Howard. 10 seconds. Alec Kessling, John Downey, Nathan Rector, Alex Tweeton, Matthew Elements. Looking at Jack Orstrald, Mike Heffley. We got Jeff Lance, Dakota DeVore, Brennan Burdine, Kyle Morris, Michael Adam, Hunter Hall, Brandon McCarthy, Austin Bragg, Parter Lang, Zachary Roberts, Noah Stevens, Chase Mundy, Ryan Titan, Billy Saglia. And coming up next, the 200B class, Teague Securo, Hayden Van Kuren, Johnny Manera, Chris Chrisman, Adam Parker, Austin Williams, Randy Smith, Christian Brooks, Zachary Sarek, Andrew Kent, Tanner Whipple, Bailey McCarthy, Sam Hall, Wyatt Bruner, Nathan Davis, Michael DeLosa. 10 seconds. Cash Jacobs, Brandon Keegan, Anthony Boswell, Hank Hayes, Ty England, Noah Stewart, and Garrett Robertson. 200B class around the turn now, getting it all sorted out. Whoa. Man, they threaded a needle on that one. I lost the numbers. So we go to our next row. The Bet B30 Plus, Bill Zavendi, Larry Hopper, Jordan Overfield, Aaron Ferguson, Stephen Young, Jeremy Stawobi, Kyle Ulvey, Bobby Steins, Jared Hoffman, Scott Krause, Tom Parr, Jeremy Brown, along with John Johnson, Brian Shuktis. 10 seconds. Kevin Ernie, Sean Nicholson, Mike Barber, Toby Evans, Junior White, Alex Roby, Robert Pointer, Keith Grunholder, Carson Missenheimer, Jason McMillan, Davis Thompson, and Justin Locken. 26 of them rounding that first turn now, and was that Bill Zavendi? I couldn't quite tell. I thought that was a 103 quite possibly, but Open B class coming up next. Michael Davis, Grant Lehman, Matt Sorge, Dominic Jarvis, Jordan Harris, Tyler Smith, Jim Giuliano, Trevor Knowles, Ryan Stoller, Gregory Grimes. Also looking at Chancellor Irwin, Alien Pettit. 10 seconds. That's Alan Pettit, Tyler Ott, Devin Jarrett, Daniel Burks, Corey Jordan, Cameron Salander, Ryan McManus, Michael Moore, Brian Obersheen, Joseph Patton, Kyle Stalter, John Condra, and Owen Marriott. .519 is Ryan McManus out of Nelsonville, Ohio, on the JD Performance, Athens Sports Cycles, Shriver's Pharmacy back KTM. Big one there from the epicenter of Ohio racing over around Athens there. And, of course, Senior B class coming up next. We got Devin Ferguson, Mike Kochman, Chad Evans, Jeffrey Flynn, Daryl Schlabach, Kevin Colbus, Jason McCoy, Ryan Mottinger. 10 seconds. Mark Koch, Mark Proper, Jason Hall, Tim Healy, Christian Broombaugh, Mark Brooks, Robert Lightfield, Daniel Cleveland, Gene Swidwa, Chris Lynn, and Darren Darmos off and rolling. Our final row, our final start, the final wave of the green flag here on the starting line for 2016 here in GNCC Racing. And not real sure who that guy was that got the whole shot. Man, he was certainly serious, like everybody here should, as we have got ourselves a great day of racing ahead to wrap up a great season and championship year here in the GNCC Racing Nation. Well, is Caleb Russell going to be able to pop off another win? Can one of the new guys make something happen? Stick around. GNCC continues after this.
when it comes to protecting your engine. AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Maxxis Tires.
Here at Rocky Mountain ATV MC, our goal has always been to get you the best price and provide quality service. Now, we're giving you one more reason to shop with Rocky Mountain. We call it Quick Cash. It's simple to get. Just place an order with a qualifying Quick Cash item and get cash to spend on your next order. Try it out today. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
Welcome back to RacerTV here at the Ironman AMSOIL 100. That's really not 100, but to the AMSOIL race here at Ironman, Crawfordsville, Indiana. I'm sitting here with Johnny Gallagher, Megawatt.
You know, Fred, when you say that, that's so funny, man, because it almost feels like a 100-miler atmosphere right now, doesn't it? Reminds you of just old-school dirt bike race, man. Everybody got a carnival atmosphere going on, and out on the track, man, racing like you couldn't believe. Just reminiscent of a 100-miler for sure.
Well, you know, back in the day when the 100 miles were going on, when Johnny was there, too, with his dad and all of us.
Heck yeah.
We had a big crowd, but the crowd that we're getting now this year and since then is unbelievable. We've gotten so many riders here at this track, and I think today's got a lot to do with the weather. This is probably, I know it was my favorite race when I raced, and I hear a lot of people in the pits talking about it. Just, it's that time of the year, the weather's good, the dirt's good, and the crowds are just coming out in groves.
You know, it's crazy, honestly, Fred. You know, every year we come here, we always think it's a back and forth battle, you know, much like we hope to see some battles out there. And in the XC1, XC2, and all of our classes, it's always that wheel-to-wheel back and forth battle between Unadilla GNCC and Ironman GNCC. You've got a huge crowd up in New York, and you've got a huge crowd here in Indiana. And I'll tell you what, the Ironman folks here in Indiana have done it again. Topped it, the biggest GNCC ever of all time here today. You all are part of history. I don't know what the total rider count is for the weekend, but it's over 2,400 riders. Fred, as a guy coming up racing the 100-miler series, you know, all those years ago when some pickup trucks were parked in a field and, you know, if you had 300 or 400 riders throughout the course of a weekend, that was the biggest off-road event of all time. We are now 6 to 7 times that size. 2,400 riders here this weekend. Absolutely mind-boggling, but we know what we're going to see today for sure is some bar-to-bar action. We're going to see some serious battling wheel, and I believe that wasn't our leader coming through the pits already, was it? We did outside our RacerTV studios here. We just heard might have a rider coming in for some repairs, but a great course for racing was out there yesterday. The dirt is absolutely epic. Perfect amount of moisture laid down here by Mother Nature, and it's really going to provide for excellent racing traction, excellent racing conditions, and as Megawatt had noted, absolutely great weather here today. So everybody buckle in. You're going to be with us here for the duration of this 3-hour event, and we're going to see how it all unfolds.
Hey, Johnny, was there any difference yesterday in the energy of this crowd? You've seen it all. You've been there. You've seen the big crowds. You've seen the sparse crowds. You've seen it all. What was the energy like and the atmosphere like yesterday?
You know, I tell you one thing, Megawatt, and Fred can absolutely completely feel the energy of the crowd when you're out there racing, and you know, especially when you get to Ironman Hill, and you know, hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of that on the live feed here later today. But the crowd down there is absolutely phenomenal. It's like a wall of people when you get there, and when I say a wall of people, I'm not talking dozens, I'm not talking hundreds, I'm talking thousands of people miles out in the woods in the middle of nowhere with their adult beverages in hand, cheering on the riders. And you know, Fred can attest to this. You can feel that energy when you come to that point of the track. People are screaming. Yesterday, there was guys that had parts of bikes strapped to them. There was actually a guy with one of my mud plug stickers on his chest, leaning in. They're showering you with beer when you or with adult beverages when you come by. Maybe it was Pepsi. I don't know. I'm speculating. But nonetheless, it was absolutely phenomenal. It drives you on. It provides you that little bit of extra drive that you need to go that much harder.
You know, and that was the question. Does that give you that drive? Well, you want to talk about drive and energy. We got a special guest coming into the studio right now, going to join you guys. Actually, he's going to take my headset. Hey, we're going to introduce to you right now Taylor Robert. Taylor, of course, newly crowned individual champion at the ISD, multi-time off-road champion. And you know what, Taylor? It's a pleasure to have you. I'm going to turn my headset over to you and let Johnny and Fred take over.
You know, Taylor Robert obviously has a great pedigree in endurocross racing. He's raced all over the world, most recently this season competing in the World Enduro Championship Series. Here with us this weekend, going to help us out in the booth, and you know, it'd be really great to kind of get a different perspective, and you know, kind of exactly what are your thoughts being here today, Taylor? I mean, obviously a crazy crowd. You've raced events all over the country, all over the world. You know, what, I guess, sum it up in a couple words for us. What's the feeling like for you seeing all this firsthand?
This is really pretty crazy. I mean, these fans are nuts. I think some of the European fans are crazy in themselves. They love making noise. They bring out the horns, the chainsaws, everything. But these guys just love getting out here and having a good time, and like you were saying, drinking some adult beverages and just making it a party, which is really cool to see.
Awesome, absolutely. You know, and obviously coming here this weekend, just a quick update. It looks like Caleb Russell has made his way to the lead at the 6-mile marker from what we're being told. Fred, did you catch the other order? I heard Thad Duvall was...
Jordan Ashburn was second, and Thad Duvall was running third.
So your top three is Caleb Russell, Jordan Ashburn, Thad Duvall. So you got those guys that have worked their way to the front. And Taylor, you know, this would be a great time to talk about, obviously, two of those guys you were racing with just a few weeks ago over in Spain, and you guys were able to pull the team overall for the first time in the 91-year history of the event, and you yourself did it for the second year in a row, with last year Ryan Sipes as not only the top American, but the individual overall, and you did that yourself. You know, how prestigious is that to be able to do, and what does that feel like after all those years of putting in the effort to be able to do that?
Yeah, it felt really good. I mean, the first time I went to ISD was in 2010, and Kurt kind of asked me if I wanted to be on the junior team, and I was like, heck yeah, I want to do it. And then after being there and just seeing how big of a deal it is and how fast those guys are, I'm like, man, this would be really cool if we could come out here and win this one day. And my personal goal was always to win the overall, and the first year I did it, I wasn't even close. I was like 22nd or something like that. I'm like, yeah, I got
That's close, though. I mean, there's a lot of riders there, so 22nd is... I mean, that's not bad with all the best riders in the whole world.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but you're still like, man, I got a long way to go, because the difference between first and 22nd can be 10, 12 minutes or something like that by the end of the week. But, yeah, I mean, it felt amazing to finally get that done for both myself and the team. It was, like I was kind of saying last night, I was kind of in a weird position myself the last day, because I only had a 12-second lead, which really isn't that much. And I'm like, I really don't want to mess this up for the team, but I want to push as hard as I can to get myself the overall. So I had a fine line to walk there, but luckily everything went smooth and got a good start, and we finished the race and did what we had to do.
Do you think spending the whole year over there this year doing that kind of racing helped you out?
Yeah, it definitely helped me out being over there in Europe all year. I think the part that really helped me out was the first 2 days were dry and dusty. I'm used to that. But then the second 2 days at 6 days were just complete mutters, some of the slickest stuff I've ever ridden. And luckily, 6 out of the 8 races I did in Europe this year were mutters also. So I got a lot of practice there and just having more confidence going into that stuff. You know, living in Arizona, I don't get a whole lot of mud practice. But going into those 2 days when I knew it was going to be wet, I wasn't even worried. I wasn't sweating it at all, which if I wouldn't have raced over there all year, I think I would have been a little bit more nervous going into those 2 days.
You know, we did just see, and here we're back again. This is a quick shot of our Ironman hill. We've got two options here that you can see on screen. This course splits when it comes out of the track, or out of the river here. What about that, Taylor? Anything like that over in Europe? Anything quite that steep and gnarly straight out of a river like that? It's deceiving right now because it's dry, but as the race wears on, what we're going to see is the water's going to be drug out of this creek, up this hill, and the spectators are a little bit light right now, but I can assure you people are going to be making their way down there, and eventually maybe we can get a shot from the back or from the top and look down into that valley, and you'll just see the thousands and thousands of people that are there. But you know, obviously you had mentioned you know, the difference of yourself wanting to battle for that individual overall, and then also having to weigh out the, you know, not wanting to mess it up for the team. Changed the rules this year. You guys obviously counting everybody's scores every day, you know, and that really made it that much more important, you know, to not have an issue with you know, any individual rider on any day, no mechanicals, no anything, and that's, you guys as a team came together, and you know, I'm sure the team was behind you 100% though in your quest for your individual overall as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody was stoked and everybody was really supportive, but like you were saying, with everybody having to finish every day and put in good results, it was really stressful, way more stressful than it's been in the past, because you have one little thing go wrong, and I mean, you're looking at a DNF for the whole team, and it doesn't even have to be something big, but you know, guys were tweaking themselves here and there, or have a little minor bike issue, and you know, you just can't drop anything. So now it's really stressful because 4 guys for 6 days is a lot of time on bikes, and there's so many variables out there that you know, it all came together for us, which is the first time it's ever really happened, because even before in the past when we had drop riders, it seemed like we always had something go wrong, even with drop riders.
You know, it's got to be tough, obviously, the format being so different from, you know, what the majority of the riders from the United States that go over there and compete. But I think as overall, it seems like the adaptations that the team has made over the last couple of years have obviously paid off with you guys doing the training camps and everything else. We need Abigail Busick back to the finish line, please. Abigail Busick, if you could make your way to the finish line, please. They need you over there. So with obviously with the advent of some different types of racing here in the States, and everything with the team working together, you know, it all paid off. You guys got that overall. So now you guys are the king of the mountain, and you got the big target on your back going forward for next year. And you know, you'd mentioned obviously Kurt Caselli, and a huge shout out to him and his family, and obviously everything that they did over the years prior to Kurt's unfortunate early departure from the sport. Oh, and it looks like we've got our leaders coming through, but that is Caleb Russell leading. It looked to be Thad Duvall.
Yeah, Duvall was in second.
Right
and
there,
here
too.
is Jordan Ashburn. So we've got our top 3 through, and we'll be able to call it on screen. We won't see it on screen, but we'll be able to call them as they come by. They're working their way through the VP Fuels Pro Row right now. 4th place looks to be Russell Bobbitt. And then it looks to be Corey Buttrick in 5th, Chris Bach in 6th. Oh, and here we have the XC2 riders out in the field. So what you're watching on screen is Lane Michael. We're going to assume that that is the leader of the XC2 class. But look at this, the number 1 JCR Honda of Trevor Bollinger, hard on the charge. He's trying to run Lane down. Last race, a lot of comments after the race that Lane Michael was so fast at the beginning of the race. They're actually leading our overall, Fred. And on the starting line, he said, hey, the plan is today to do that again, except I'm going to carry it all the way to the finish.
You know, it's not uncommon for an XC2 guy to be leading at the very beginning, the overall, but it seems like they have a hard time carrying it through all the way to the end, because the lead pack's kind of trying to figure things out, and when you get the whole shot like Lane does, he just takes off like a rabbit. So he's actually catching guys, and he's in the overall position, but we'd like to see if he can keep it all day long. That's a feat that nobody's been able to do from the XC2 class yet.
Absolutely, and not to build unnecessary hype here, but I can tell you right now, Lane Michael is not the overall leader right now. The reason I can tell is he has just now come through VP Fuels Pro Row. It's been over a minute. Caleb Russell is wise to his tricks. They might be good buddies, but he's not going to allow Lane to pin it that first lap and you know, sit back and kind of let and collect his thoughts. He's going for it. He doesn't want anybody to have an advantage on him. Here we see a heck of a battle between 2 Yamaha boys. That looks to be Austin Lee and Josh Toth. So Josh Toth goes around Austin Lee. Austin, a hometown Indiana boy. I'm sure he's got a lot of fans behind him this weekend. There's Zach Hayes, another one of our XC2 riders. So it looks like we've got this camera shot up and rolling. And, you know, one thing you could say, Fred, you said this was one of your favorite tracks. These cornfields here are awesome. You got to think of it this way. This dirt is cultivated. It's manicured. It's prepped for, you know, maximum nutrients in farming all year long.
It doesn't get any better than this, John, is what you're trying to say.
And then once a year they mow it down and they say, let's race in this.
Yeah, you know, you get out there and the ruts get so deep, and there's like 3 or 4 deep, 3 or 4 wide, and it's just unbelievable dirt. You just go in there and turn the bike and it just sticks.
It's crazy, unbelievable that you can get so much grip out of this dirt also, and you know, it really does, it really is, it's almost like getting a race on a golf course.
You know, and even though it's a flat field, the dirt is so soft, and it's from braking bumps, it gets really cupped up and gets a lot of braking bumps, and the line starts getting wider and wider, and people carry more speed. So there's plenty of different lines out there in the fields trying to pass people. It's almost like what Taylor's used to over there in Europe. You know, those guys, they go left to go right. It's weird the way they turn over, and you guys carry so much speed, and I'm sure this would be something that you'd really have fun with.
Yeah, I'm looking at this thing, and I'm pretty jealous I'm not out there right now, because this cornfield looks really good. And yeah, you can already see there's some lines starting to form. It's getting pretty rough out there. We've got some guys, you know, kicking up, coming into the turns. But you're right about the style over in Europe. It's totally different. You open up the turns as much as you possibly can. Even when there's good traction, they totally carry their speed, and you don't really see them getting on the brakes hard, but they're not getting on the gas very hard either. They're just they're always moving. So it was a lot to learn for me this year, but I finally started getting the hang of it there towards the end of the season, and was able to carry that over to 6 days.
Yeah, and like you said, Taylor, when you watch them go through the turns, it looks like they're going so slow because the wheel's not spinning, the dirt's not flying. They're just got a constant speed. Where we go in there fast and brake hard and take off, and we look like we're going fast, but we don't carry the speed like they do, and that's a hard feat to learn over there, and that's something that you accomplished with a few of your wins over there this year.
Yeah, and honestly, it's like you're saying, it's really deceiving because you'll go through a test and you'll do it, moto style, and be like, all right, there's no way anybody could have beat me in that test. Like, I was charging so hard and I was coming into the turn so hot, and then a guy will go out there and beat you in a 5-minute test by 8 or 10 seconds, and you're just like, how is that possible? And then you see a video of him doing it, and you're thinking, he's going way slower than I was, but it's just that's how it works, the physics of just carrying your speed and open up those turns as much as you possibly can, so you're not really making any sharp turns and doing the stop and go deal.
Well, here we have the finish line right now. We had Caleb Russell go through in first, Thad Duvall was in second, and maybe a second or two back in third place was Jordan Ashburn. So right now we're waiting on fourth place to come through the finish line, and we've got a really tight race up front right now with, I think I talked to Thad Duvall a little bit before this race, and his goal was, to get with Caleb and try to hang with him just like he did in Ohio. As he did in Ohio, he stayed with Caleb the whole day long, passed him on the last lap, and fell down and lost the victory to Caleb. So it's going to be interesting to see if Thad can keep himself with Caleb all day long this week, or today, and see if he can accomplish that win he's really wanting. Yeah, it's cool. Like I said, we talked about the ISD. The guys actually brought the trophy here, and I saw so many people at the AMA tent today getting their picture taken with the trophy because it's, some people don't think it's a big deal to America, but it was cool when you came here and saw there's a couple hundred people over there today just getting their picture taken with the trophy. It's taken us 91 years to get.
Yeah, I went over. I took a picture, Fred, of the entire trophy, the 360 degrees all the way around. I wanted to be able to go in and zoom in on it and get all the names. I took a selfie of myself with it and everything, and I thought that was cool. But joining us here this afternoon, Taylor Robert, welcome to GNCC, brother, and congratulations again to you on your overall ISDE win and also the team effort with the first ever American overall win. That's just an amazing feat. And Taylor, a lot of folks really probably don't know a whole lot about you other than you're just an amazing rider, and we've heard Taylor Robert. What are some of the accolades what brings you to this point in your career, man? You're a West Coaster, desert racer, I guess?
Yeah, I don't even know what I would really consider myself. I do a little bit of everything, actually. I grew up racing motocross, and then Steve Hatch lived a quarter mile down the road from me from the time I was 7 years old until I was 20 years old. So I kind of grew up with Steve as my mentor, and
wow.
Even from the time I was 7 until I was 15, I never even rode off-road, aside from stuff like the trails out behind my house, but I never did a race. And then he kind of talked me into doing a works race back in 2003 on an 85, and I went and did it and thought it was pretty cool. And then I came back a couple years later on a big bike and did the whole series. And I kind of took to it, and works was kind of my introduction to off-road racing. And then from there, I just I started doing ISDE, I started doing endurocross, extreme enduros, desert racing. I just kind of tried to do everything I could get my hands on because I just realized that I like all different kinds of off-road racing. So started doing that, and then it brought me here today. I've done one GNCC before, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was snowshoe last year, which was a nasty one, but I've done some extreme races too. That's what it kind of reminded me of. And then like exactly right here, we got some guys pushing their bikes up Ironman Hill there, which is just like an extreme race. But no, I've kind of done a little bit of everything, and I like just switching it up and having a good variety of skill sets. So the 6 days thing was huge for us. So we it was a huge monkey off our backs once we knew Thad crossed the finish line in that final moto and he finished. We're like, yes, we got this finally. And we were just all so nervous going into that last day, but when we got it done, it felt so good. And man, I can't tell you how good it felt to be the first Americans to hold that trophy up.
I could imagine, man. And I got to ask, how familiar were you with the team riders that you were riding with out there? I know you know who Caleb is and all these guys, but were you at all personally familiar with these guys in any way, shape, or form?
I actually know these guys pretty well now. Thad's been doing 6 days since 2012, so him and I have done 6 days 5 times together now, so I know Thad pretty good just from that. And then Caleb and I have spent quite a bit of time together. He came out to my house a couple of years ago and stayed for about 2 weeks, and we did some riding together. And then I went out to his house for about 2 weeks and did some riding there. So I know Caleb pretty well. And then I know Lane a little bit just from hanging out with Caleb, but other than that, I didn't know Lane a whole lot. I'm really tight with Ryan, so I was really bummed when I heard that Ryan, you know, hurt his arm right before we were gonna leave. Everybody was kind of freaking out. We're like, oh, what are we gonna do? Like he's, you know, he won last year. He's like one of our top guys. Like this is gonna be it. Like there's no way we can pull it off. But Lane,
did you feel any extra pressure to be that guy? Possibly, you think, well, somebody's going to have to step up. Is it going to be me? Did you think that way in that realm?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I from doing the World Enduros this year and racing against those guys, I knew I had what it took to win before I went there. So I kind of had my own confidence. Like my goal was to go there and win this thing. But you know, Ryan was definitely going to be a key player in contributing to our success. And then when we didn't have anybody, basically 12 hours before we were supposed to fly out, it's like, man, what are we going to do? But I mean, Lane stepped up with pretty much zero notice and went over there and did exactly what he had to do. We didn't want him to push too hard and get hurt or do anything to the bike. I mean, he just went out there and he was consistent and finished every day with solid times. And you know, I couldn't have asked for a better teammate.
That's absolutely true. Speaking of teammates, listen to this roster of the top 5 right now. Caleb Russell leading this one, 1.7 seconds over Thad Duvall. Jordan Ashburn is back in the number 3 spot. Then Lane Michael, leading the XC2 Pro Lights class, is 4th place overall right now on time adjustments. So that's pretty good showing for the guys coming back after winning that trophy. Lane up there in contention, leading his class. Chris Bach back in the number 5 spot overall. Multi-time national enduro champion, the 113 of Russell Bobbitt here with us. He's running in 6th right now. Corey Buttrick, who just won a national enduro race a couple of weeks ago, is 7th overall. Grant Baylor, Stu Baylor in 8th and 9th, and Trevor Bollinger, who is your newly crowned XC2 Pro Lights class champion, is rounding out in the top 10 overall. And that's the way things are starting to look right now as we take a quick look at the standings after one lap of racing. Lap times on that first lap about 27:26 for Russell, 27:28 there for Duvall. So right around that 27-28 minute lap time for our top 5 there after that first lap of racing. So we'll be keeping an eye out on that and watching this one unfold. We have Fred Andrews in the booth with us here on a Sunday here at the Ironman GNCC, and of course Taylor Roberts is here. America's he won the overall at ISDE and one of America's team members in the team trophy team that helped take the overall at the ISDE just a few weeks ago, and we're watching GNCC racing here. And Fred, back to the racing action. Taylor, we're going to talk a lot more. Just stay right here and hang out, brother, because we got a lot more great questions and stuff. Right now, I'd like to take this opportunity, race fans here at the racetrack, let you know, stop down, grab yourself something to eat. Our friends at the Darlington Conservation Center, a nonprofit organization here in Montgomery County. It's got prime rib sandwiches. They've got all kinds of great food. Just stop on down and see them and get you something to eat. Also, those of you folks that are here, don't forget Zakowski Motorsports has got the pink shirts, the sayings, all the cool sayings and everything. All proceeds go to, again, support breast cancer awareness and research. A good portion of those proceeds go right here in Montgomery County. So when you see Zakowski Motorsports and the great selection of t-shirts, be sure and stop on over and see them. By the way, Ricky Russell got the whole shot in this one, and Ricky Russell is now currently running in the number 11 spot. We've been sitting here talking with Taylor Robert. We were talking about Caleb Russell. Thad Duvall was a member of that team, leading 1st and 2nd the overall, and Lane Michael 4th overall and leading his class. Taylor Robert here in the booth with us, and I'll tell you folks, it was an amazing accomplishment. We actually got a nice little feature put together that we want to show the folks, and I want to say thanks to Kyle Wolf and K Wolf Media for putting this nice little piece together and showcasing some of the great things that happened at ISDE here in 2016.
Huge relief. You know, it's been a 5-year trek for me, and I think a 5-year trek for Taylor also. And you know, it's been a long road, but we finally made it happen. And you know, for 3 kids that grew up together in West Virginia, riding together and playing with dirt bikes when we were 5 years old, it's crazy to mark my Duvall family name in history. You know, with my dad growing up racing, and you know, it's cool looking at it now. And you know, a lot of people told me that racing dirt bikes would never amount to anything, and you know, I just went and won a gold for the United States, and the first time in 91 years.
I mean, everybody just kind of went out there and did what they had to do. You know, Caleb and I were kind of like really pushing, trying to get our results right at the top. And then we needed Thad and Lane just to stay consistent and not, try and over push or anything like that, because that's when we've made some big mistakes in the past. And everybody just stayed together this year, and all the bikes stayed together. And I mean, that was the biggest thing right there, is just keeping everybody in one piece. The main focus was, the team won, which was the first time that's ever happened in the history of the event. So we were all really stoked on that. And we were really worried the day before the last race, the final moto, but we went out there and we got it done.
I mean, it's probably the greatest feeling I've had, in my career. Everything set aside. I mean, it's a great feeling to be able to represent the country, and then assemble a team that they all have the same goal. First you need a team of riders that are dedicated and fast and can get the job done. But on top of that, you need to have a support crew and a support team that extends all the way to the smallest job that there is at 6 days. To do something to the country and AMA and the entire nation, this is for everyone. This is for American people to enjoy now this success, that we were able to do.
And that one was not the Kyle Wolf Media one, but that was the one that was part of the celebration that we had here in the United States, and an opportunity to talk to you guys. And man, I don't know, just watching some of the highlights last night from that unveiling of the trophy that was done here at the Ironman, I got goosebumps again, Taylor Robert, and watching you up there. I don't know, seeing yourself on TV in that moment right there, what it does for you, but it has. I mean, I would think that would be something special.
It was real. It was really cool. When Auntie asked me to come here this weekend for the trophy unveiling, I didn't really know what to expect. And, I'd been to Snowshoe before, but Snowshoe's kind of a weird event as far as you can't see the magnitude of people that are there because it's so spread out. When I rolled in here yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how many cars there are here. And then when we had that trophy unveiling, it was really cool to see all the fans come out and show their support. And, I know a lot of these guys don't necessarily know who I am or what exactly I do. They probably heard my name, but it was cool to see how stoked they were on everything and just the whole deal. It was awesome.
Like you said, like Tim Cotter told you last night during that presentation, you are now an adopted member of the GNCC Racing Nation, brother, and we hope to see a lot more over here, man. That's for sure.
Thank you, guys. I want to come out and try some of these, and after looking at the track today, I mean, this looks like it'd be a perfect one to do. The track looks awesome out here, and kind of jealous these guys get this good dirt after we got to ride on some pretty crappy dirt at 6 days.
The track did look a little bit choppy. We'll see that video coming up here shortly, but right now watching and waiting to see what's going on. At last check, we had the amazing battle between Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall, a little over a second separating those two. And of course, Jordan Ashburn was about 5.7 seconds back in the number 3 position. They actually had a 26-second lead over Chris Buck, which allowed Lane Michael to slide into the 4th place overall position on time adjustments out of the XC2 Pro Lights class. Looking at, I believe this is part of the Moto Track. Yes, it is part of the Moto Track, the now world famous Ironman Raceway motocross track, and a dream that became reality. And watching this one unveil and seeing what it's become here today is pretty cool to me, to be honest with you right now. There's Austin Lee. We're watching the 1, 2, 3. He's making his way around. I think he's had a little bit of a rough season and a rough go so far in 2016, but he's one of Indiana's home, and he's hoping for that bit of redemption, if you will, here in the soils and familiar soils of Indiana.
And we talked a little earlier about how big Unadilla is and how big this race is. I think it's got something to do with the motocross track too, because this is something that every person's dream is to ride on a professional motocross track. And here at Indiana, like Unadilla, they can come out and ride the same exact track that Roxon and all of that all the professionals get to ride. And it's something that most people never ever get to do, but it's nice that we can incorporate that in with an off-road race like we have here. And talking about the track here, we've got the fast cornfields that are wide open and fast like we talked about earlier, but they get all soft and choppy because the dirt's so good to grow all the corn and the soybean and stuff. And then we've got the woods, where the woods are really good with some roots and rocks in, and then we've got the big creek crossings. And then on the screen it's been showing the hill climb. And the hill climb's big and gnarly and rough in itself, and we've got a whole bunch of spectators there that actually jump on the guy's bike. So here's the hill climb again. They'll grab your bike if you don't make the hill, but the problem when they're grabbing your bike and you're coming up behind them, then man, you're in trouble because you're trying to come up the hill and there's people everywhere. So you actually have to almost give the guy a little bit of a head start if you don't have enough faith in him that he's going to make that hill.
That's for sure. We just got an update that Caleb Russell still leading this one as we on RacerTV are watching Ironman Hill. Again, trying some new things here this weekend to try to get that reach. That's a ways out from where we are in the pits and so forth, but getting that video, maybe a little choppy, but at least we're getting to see some pretty cool stuff. And I'll tell you guys something. I don't know if you went down. Did you go down the Ironman Hill yesterday personally by any chance?
I didn't get here in time to head down there. I wish I would have, though.
Man, I tell you, I mean, there's a lot of people down there today, but yesterday it was just blew my mind whenever I seen it. Probably one of the largest crowds at Ironman Hill I'd ever seen, and to see the magnitude of people that we have here today, again, the numbers, it's just amazing. Right now we're about 13 minutes out from seeing our leaders check in, and we're going to check in with some of our track crew out on the track. This is Rodney looking for an update. John Ayers, Bill Allen, somebody, what's going on out there right now?
Rodney Volkov here, and Caleb Russell with Thad Duvall right on him coming past me. We're up here, up at the top of the hill past Ironman Hill. They're dropping down to this really rocky technical good section, and here comes Jordan Ashford about 10 seconds behind those guys.
10-4, it looks like Jordy is basically maintaining a pretty solid ride out there in that third place position right now.
10-4, Jordan's doing excellent right now. There's still no sign of fourth place just yet.
10-4, if you get any more updates, be sure and pass them along.
You know where Jordan Ashburn's doing the right thing right now. If he can just keep those leaders in sight, they can actually help pull him along as he goes along the track, because Thad and Caleb are really pushing the issue right now. They're going super fast, and if Jordan can even just get good glimpses of them here and there in the cornfield and just kind of match his pace with them, that'll be good for him for the
Brad,
day.
we got an update coming. Go ahead, update.
Hey, this is Tim Cotter from Ironman Hill. There are about 2,000 spectators along the hillside here in Indiana. The top riders just came through, but I think the Ironman Hill faithful put your hands together, folks. Make some noise out here on RacerTV.
Wow, we can hear him in the background there, Tim, and sounding good. And again, don't forget that bus right down there. That's the cool thing, right?
I think we're getting the radio transmission, but look, these folks are having a ball here out in Indiana. It's a great day to be a GNCC rider, GNCC family.
10-4 on that. Thanks a lot, Tim Cotter, reporting from Ironman Hill. And you can tell the crowd's pretty amped and pretty stoked down there once again today.
Yeah, and back to what Fred was saying about Jordan stalking these guys in third place. It's really a good position for him, because in a situation like this, it's always better to follow, I think, because you use so much less energy. You watch those guys, see what mistakes they're making, and you can kind of, as long as you can hold their pace, you can just key off of them. And it makes for a pretty cool position to be in, as long as you can stay right there with them.
And when you got Caleb and Thad going through a slower guy, they already know the next guy that here could be somebody faster. They're actually going to get out of your way easier.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully if he's close enough to them, you know, those slower guys will pull over and he'll just be able to sneak right in and just stay right on them.
All right, now as we continue to watch and wait here at the finish line, we are somewhere in the neighborhood of about 12.5 minutes before a scheduled arrival of Caleb Russell at the finish line with Thad Duvall. Hey, I got this announcement. Adam White, report to rider registration. Once again, Adam White, report to rider registration. And you know, we're talking about these great things and these accomplishments that were made by Team ISDE, and you know, we've got some pretty good female racers in our contingents as well that race in the morning, the WXC class. And we had a couple of riders that actually were over, I think it was in New Jersey or someplace yesterday. They were racing the New Jersey Field of Dreams race, and they were there for that. I think that's a moto race, if I'm not mistaken. They packed up and they headed out here to race here today. That's Shelby Rowland and Mackenzie Tricker. We had a chance to catch up with them.
Yesterday I had a WMX event in New Jersey. We were there, drove 12 hours last night from about 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. We were in the car. So the last 24 hours involved a lot of time in the car, but it's been worth it. Yesterday we were on the podium with a 3-4 for third overall, and looking forward to today's event, and I'm here and ready to go. Get a podium here would mean a lot. It would be a really high note going into be pumped on it after yesterday. If I pulled off 2 podiums at 2 different events, then I would be extremely excited, but we're just going to go out here and do our best and know that I'm doing everything I can do with the amount of sleep I've gotten and just the work I put in. I know that I've done what I can do, and we'll see how it goes.
It's been a long 24 hours, but fortunately yesterday I was able to go 1-1 and win my second round this year. It's been a rough year, so it was good. We got done racing at 1 o'clock. Oh no, 12 o'clock yesterday, and we left at 1. We took showers and had to get everything situated, and then we made good time. We got here at 12 o'clock, and I checked into the hotel, and I was probably able to get to sleep at 1. A number of people have said you could be the first Iron woman. I mean, earlier in the year I won at Palo, the other WMX that I won, and then I went a week later I won Big Buck. So that was pretty good. I got recognized quite a bit for that. So it'd be cool to go here and be able to win in the same weekend. But it's not gonna be easy. It's got 2 hours of racing, and we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling good, feeling the best I felt in a long time after getting hurt, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well, congratulations to Mackenzie Tricker with her 1-1 moto scores yesterday at the Field of Dreams in New Jersey, and then today she gets a podium position finish here at GNCC. And Jessica Patterson, JP Money, we all know and love there helping out. Also, Shelby Rowland got a podium yesterday at the WMX, so congratulations to those ladies. And check it in right now. There is the number 5 of Bad Thad Duval, and I believe he's still laying chase to the number. He's in second, laying chase to that number 1 going around the hay bale there of Caleb Russell. And those guys really don't seem like they've changed much from the last time we saw them and heard of them at about a second and a half or so apart. Man, there comes Jordan Ashburn. He has not let up any whatsoever. Still running about 5-10 seconds back behind the pace of Thad Duval. But these guys, you're looking at the big picture. That's still a pretty tight race that we're watching right now.
Yeah, and too, they're starting to put time on everybody behind them, and Thad's doing exactly what Taylor and I talked about earlier. He's just hanging in there. He's letting Caleb set the pace, and if he can stay with Caleb, he's just gonna wait till the right time to make things happen. Right now they're coming down Pro Row, and Caleb's getting ready to come by his pit crew area. They're probably gonna give him a sign and let him know where Thad is and what's going on. As you can see, his board right up there says place 1 plus 4 seconds.
Yep.
There goes Thad right behind him. So there's no real sense of urgency out of these guys. Thad's just trying to stay hooked up with him.
Right, and we might be in a sense here pretty soon, like might be going back old school. These guys might be sprinting up front, but they might start keying off each other for a couple hours. And it wouldn't surprise me to see these two work off of each other and take this all the way home to the checkers. It wouldn't surprise me to see Thad put on a late race push, man. I mean, this kid, he's got a whole lot of confidence right now. Just a lot of things going in his favor here in 2016, and being a part of that winning team, that's another boost of confidence for him. And talking with him earlier this morning, Thad really feels like he is one of the riders that is capable of riding with Caleb Russell right now. He says, that's my job. That's what I'm expected and supposed to do. That's what I've come out here to do. So Thad is really, we've seen a whole big change. A year ago talking to Thad, he just said, I'll be happy if I can get a top 5. I'm going to try to get in there and get on a podium or something like that. Now Thad talks about winning. It's a whole different man than what we were talking to a year ago.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he has what it takes to do it. Obviously, at the last race, he was pretty close, and then here he's holding right on to Caleb, and that's no easy feat. I mean, Caleb obviously knows how to twist it, and Thad's just doing exactly what he needs to do right here, and that's just latching onto him and trying to let Caleb do all the work and let him pull him through the pack. Hopefully he can just hold it on to the end. I know he wants it really bad. Just watching Caleb win pretty much everything this year, he really wants to get out there and get one and just kind of end the season on a high note going into next year.
It would be. And the key that's been for Caleb too. Caleb's been getting out there and getting away from all these guys, getting 20, 30 seconds on them, and they can't catch up to Caleb when that happens. But Thad's learned that if he can get off the line with Caleb, he can ride with him.
Yep,
Caleb can actually help pull him along, and that keeps his confidence up, and then he can wait till the end to try to make a pass. But you're not going to catch Caleb if he gets a minute or so ahead of you.
No, that's always a tough one to do. There's no doubt about that. So this is going to be fun to watch, I think, and we'll be keeping an eye on Jordan Ashburn as well. Lane Michael will be interesting to see what's going to be happening with him right now because he's got a head full of steam. He turned a 26.56, which was the 4th fastest lap of that first lap of racing. If he can stay consistent or even pick up the pace, we might see some changes on that overall time adjustments. Waiting right now as we are about 3 minutes out from the conclusion of lap number 2. This will put us about 55 minutes into this race or so, and that means that we still got a little over 2 or so hours left of racing in the final round of 2016. And it's all coming down to these moments right now. And this is certainly, to me, been a great championship season, and even though we don't have a championship battle that we're watching contend for here today, there are still, just like that right there, the excitement, the exciting things like Thad Duvall possibly going for that win here today. And it would be pretty monumental for Thad to get a win here, because I don't know if you know this, Taylor, but Thad's dad, Chad, was an ATV GNCC pro, one of the top ones. He actually won the Ironman in 1999 on a four-wheeler, believe it or not. So I think that'd be pretty cool for Thad to be able to do it where his dad did it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I was actually talking to Thad's mom this morning. I think they said they've been coming here since, I don't know what the first year was, but I think she
22 years.
Yeah, so that would be like 94 or something like that.
Yeah, 95 was the first race, so yeah.
Yeah, so she said they've been coming since then, and I think it'd be awesome for Thad to win here today. And, you know, he wants it really bad. It's obviously Caleb is a winner, like that's what he goes out and does, but Thad's really hungry right now, and he wants to get that. He wants to, you know, he always wants to put a dent in that streak of Caleb. So if he can get out there and do that today, I think it'll be huge for his confidence, and hopefully it'll, you know, mix things up for next year. That'll hopefully step in there and really mix it up and not just be a one-man show.
Oh yeah, I see that on the horizon, I really do, and not taking anything away from Caleb whatsoever. I'm just giving a lot of credit to the other individuals that are digging so deep and reaching so far to try and achieve what Caleb's capable of doing right now.
Yeah, Caleb stepped in and he set the bar really high, and these guys are starting to try to catch up to what he's doing, whether they're training more, they're just getting a little more confidence in themselves. And like Taylor said, Caleb's he's win or nothing, and that's what he's been doing. He's been winning. So it's a hard thing for him to see these guys catching up to him a little bit, and have somebody like this put pressure on him. And I think if Thad can keep this pressure on him all race long, it's going to be interesting at the end, because he's really not used to all that pressure.
Speaking of interesting, Caleb Russell checking in 25.56, a little bit faster that lap, a 25.56.5. Thad Duvall checks in with a 25.56.4, about a half second faster. That gap is now 1.2 seconds. It's not a lot, but this becomes a game of inches whenever we get down to the end of that 3 hours, and a half a second's quite a bit for Thad to keep pace at right now. And that's another bit of confidence boosting that is going a long way for the number 5 Husqvarna rider. Well, right now, Jordan Ashburn is checked in at the number 3 spot. We'll wait just a few seconds to see Chris Bach, about 30 or so seconds back to Chris Bach, at least the last time around. And of course, Lane Michael, can he still maintain a top 5 or 4th place overall position or better? We're going to have to stick around right here on GNCC Live to find out.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser. Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best. The best. You have to have the best equipment under the hood. That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
for those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
The wrong coolant can give you bad stuff, like this and this. You need the right stuff. Evans Waterless Engine Coolant. It's waterless for a reason. Smart guys make it, and smart people use it. Don't take any chances. Get the right stuff. Go to evanschooling.com for more.
I've been with Liat for a lot of years, and I know the dedication they have for safety. When they told me they were coming out with a helmet, I signed right up.
Welcome back to GNCC Live as we welcome you to the Ironman GNCC and the 22nd annual running of that. Of course, the final round of the 2016 AMSOIL GNCC series, and champions have been crowned. And right now it's basically a ride for pride for those guys. Rodney Tomlin here along with Fred Andrews, also Matt Watson, Johnny Cheek, Johnny Gallagher, and of course Team USA's Taylor Robert here in the booth with us today. He is America's, I guess, anchor in this overall win this year, as he took the overall individually, and the team as well took the overall. And again, congratulations and welcome back to GNCC here, Taylor, as we say hi to all those folks. If you haven't seen Taylor, this is what the young man looks like right there. And those of you watching at home on RacerTV.com. And just want to remind you folks also, all around the racetrack and back home, we're doing a lot on social media. We just actually started a new Snapchat for GNCC. It's GNCC Live, at GNCC Live. You can follow that account and you'll get to see all kinds of cool things. We actually have some really cool filters. We've got filters here this weekend. If you're on the starting line, if you're in the pro row, or even down at Ironman Hill, you can find a filter to actually help commemorate your time here through Snapchat. Right now, watching down on pro row, Fred, what do you think about those pit stops? Is that time yet?
Well, Rodney, right now we're just coming up an hour, so I say we got another hour to go yet. I say we get another hour and a half to 2 hours is where they're going to pit. And kind of like the quads yesterday, it turned out to be a 5-lap race, and we talked to those guys, and it kind of screwed them up a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see if we're going to run a 6-lap race or a 7-lap race here.
I know the timing fell so funny yesterday. It was really tough to call the race at the time that they came in after 4 laps, but it got a little long at the end of 5 laps. It didn't really change a whole lot as far as the race was concerned, I don't think, but it certainly took its toll, like you said, I think, on those riders out there.
Yeah, and something interesting that happened this morning. In the mini bike class, we had some riders out there that have gone all year long and never fueled up. Well, today they actually ran out of gas. And it's because this dirt out there in the fields actually sucks the horsepower out of the bike. Your bike actually has to work harder, even though the time is still the same. The ground is just so grippy that you burn more fuel.
And you're absolutely right. I raced back in 2005 on a utility ATV back, well, obviously many years ago. And we were starting out here, and I remember it was a cornfield section then as well. And they plow those fields up deep every year to get fluffy. And basically, what happens is, of course, you know, that ground's soft. It gets that moisture in it prior to us getting in here with the fall of the season. It gets kind of spongy. And not only do you have that tackiness to deal with, but the sponginess of the soil, that does. And I remember taking off the starting line, and I was thinking I was sitting still, because I was giving it everything it had, and it didn't feel like you were moving because it was robbing that much horsepower. And I can see exactly what you're talking about, where fuel mileage would be a lot less here today than it would at a typical GNCC anyway.
Yeah, so some of them guys that really run it really close on the fuel mileage could be in trouble today.
All right, we need a Bro Coy, could you please report to the finish line, Bro Coy? If you are or know the whereabouts of Bro Coy, please have him report to the finish line. They got some words down there, some information they need to pass along to him. And again, here in studio, joined with Taylor Roberts. We got to see that trophy a little bit ago. They've already taken it out of here, haven't they?
I think they did. The AMA guys are guarding that thing with their life.
And you know what? They had a sheriff. There's a sheriff there today.
That's going to say
That's how prestigious that trophy is.
I was sitting there thinking, isn't that a little overboard than I thought? No, absolutely not. Can you imagine? I mean, some crazed fan who's always wanted to be a part of that or see that happen, to see that sitting there and nobody paying attention, will run off with it. Yeah, Team USA wins it, and then they lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we had an armed guard, so that didn't happen, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it is pretty crazy to think that, there's only one of those in the world, and we're the ones that have it right now, and it's the first time it's ever been here. So, I'm sure somebody wants that thing on their mantle.
I know, that's right. How would you show it off, though? But anyway, we are 2 laps deep into this right now, folks, and the question to answer about Lane Michael and how things are going for him, it is answered as he checks in once again. His lap time of 26:29. About, let's see, what is that, about 14, 16 seconds difference than Jordan Ashburn at 26:12.9, so almost a 26:13 there. So, yeah, about 13 seconds separating them on that lap time. But Lane is still in that number 4 spot. Folks, let me tell you, if you want to win $250 in Amsoil product, I got your opportunity right here, right now. What you do is you tweet your podium finish predictions to hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win that $250 in Amsoil product. Now, what's going to happen, you don't have to be right. You just got to hashtag it GNCC Live. We will pick the winner randomly at the end of today's race, and we'll award that to someone. And I guess this is the point in the program where everybody gets a chance to make their predictions. So, Taylor, since you're new to the game, we're going to give you first dibs on this one.
Well, let's see. I mean, it's going to be hard to argue against Caleb and Thad right now. I mean, I'd like to see, Caleb's, I think, got the skills to and the results to back up anything. So, but I'd like to see Thad get up there on top. So I'd like to say Thad 1, Caleb 2, and then I might as well just go with my teammate for third and see if we can get a Team USA sweep up there on the podium with Lane coming in third.
Interesting pick, and it's a very viable pick as well. What about you, Fred? What are you thinking?
Well, I've been working with Thad for a while, so I'm going to have to put Thad on top myself also, even though Caleb's an Ohio boy like me. But I think it's going to be Thad, Caleb, and Jordan Ashburn. He's a local guy. He's Indiana. He's riding really good right now, and I think he's going to stay right where he's at.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to have to agree with you guys, both you guys, as far as the Caleb and Thad thing. There's something there that I'm feeling, Dave. Not that I'm taking anything away from Caleb. What I'm doing is giving a lot to Thad right now, because I know and I feel a lot with him, and I see some things happen. So I'm feeling that too. I'm going to say Thad Duvall as well. Caleb Russell in second. And as strong as I know as Jordan is, and as strong as I know he'll continue to ride, something telling me that the inspiration from a couple of weeks ago in the ISDE thing might be something that gets behind Lane Michael, and I'm going to go with Taylor on that. I'm going to say Lane Michael in third as well. That's that's what I'm thinking right now.
Well, I mean, I think we all got good predictions, and it's great to see that all these guys have a chance of winning and doing so good out there today with this track being like it is and the amount of people. And I think besides that, it's going to be tight with the riders out there. We got a lot of riders out there on the track today, and so it's going to have a lot to do with the lappers. And one thing about GNCC racing, it's never over till the finish, as we saw yesterday in the quad race. So it's going to be interesting to see, and we're all going to sit here and with bated breath and see what happens, Rodney.
Exactly. And let's check in with our track crew right now. Track crew, we seen the leaders go through just a few moments ago. Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall virtually nose to tail out there, only about a second separating those guys. Any late reports on these guys? Anything changing between those folks?
Now, I saw about 2 minutes ago, and Duvall was ahead of Caleb by about 10 seconds back in the bike-only section back here.
Oh, wow. So when are you going to pick him up again, Bill?
Trying to get him about the 4.5, Rodney, if I can beat him there.
All right, Bill, we're going to monitor this channel, so we're going to see what happens out there. So report is that Duvall is out front now, so there you go.
But you know what? That could just mean that Caleb right now is feeling that he's going as fast as he can and he can't get away from Thad, so he could just say, okay, Thad, you lead for a while. Let me see where you're going, and then I'll put it together, because right now you're following all my lines, so let me learn some of yours. So it could be a little game we got going on right now.
10-4, Bill. So we're getting the updates. They're going to be at the 5-mile marker next is when we're going to get our next update incoming from that. And that's pretty interesting. About a few seconds out ahead was Thad Duvall now. And, that's got to be a great – that's what I'm telling you. I mean, he's still riding on that inspiration from the ISD. Not saying that Caleb isn't, but, I mean, I know that meant a lot to all those guys and a big spark of confidence there for Thad.
Definitely, and this is where the strategy comes in. Caleb's not used to playing strategy. He's just used to going out, getting out front, and leading the whole time. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with Caleb following. Maybe what Fred said is right. He dropped back. He's like, all right, I'm not going to let him just see everywhere I'm going. I'll see if I can play off of him, and maybe it'll come down to a photo finish. That'd be pretty sweet for us here today.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And, believe it or not, we've come close to those before. It's hard to believe after 3 hours of racing, these guys come into the finish line this tight sometimes, man. It's unbelievable.
And also, like what Taylor does, those guys raced together for 6 days, and he had 12-second lead after 6 days of racing.
Crazy.
I mean, it's amazing how close the riders can be.
Yeah, and then if you look at the that was just 12 seconds between first and second. If you go down to like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, I think all those guys were within like 10 seconds or something. There's like 4 guys within 10 seconds after 6 days of racing.
Man, that's amazing. That shows to show the talent and dedication that everybody has to the sport nowadays.
Yeah, and even closer than that, back when I was doing the World Enduros this year, at the first round in Morocco, I lost the podium spot by 0.04 seconds.
Oh, wow.
And then I had...
That's splitting hairs right there.
Oh, yeah. And then a couple races later in Sweden, I got second overall, but third, fourth, and fifth, so second to fifth, were all within 10 seconds of each other. So it's crazy when you think about that. You know, you're on the bike for 8 hours, even though your racing time is less because you're doing an enduro format. It's just crazy that it comes down to that close, and everybody has that much talent.
You're absolutely right. That goes to show, I mean, the rider, the equipment, the machinery, everybody, I mean, everything's getting so strong, so consistent. I mean, everybody's dedicated to this and winning and doing their best, and that's what makes, I guess that's why we're such fans of it and why we like to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we all got competition inside of us, and when that helmet comes on, we all want to win, so that's what makes it fun, and that's what makes it fun for the fans, too.
7-lap race is what we're being told right now from our producer, and that comes from the powers that be here at GNCC. So we're looking at a 7-lap race. We are on lap 3 of this race right now, an hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds in. And, you know, we talk an awful lot about some of these classes, a lot of these classes, in particular the XC1 and XC2 Pro-Am. Well, Fred, you know as well as I do, before the XC2 Pro Lights class came along, the big class was the 250A class, and that's kind of like a stepping stone now into the XC2 Pro Lights class. And we see a lot of our top amateurs out of that and the 4-stroke A Lights class coming. And I'm going to take a look at the 250A class right now for you and delve into this a little bit more. If you look at this, Cody Barnes out of Sterling, Illinois, the 471 has an 8-second lead over Chris Vendetti out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. Look at that. That's that Duval going up Ironman Hill, is it not? And there is Caleb Russell
right behind him.
And you can see they're hitting a bump, and they're actually almost jumping to the top, which is really cool.
That is.
I also like the style where they're heading straight for the crowd. The crowd was kind of blocking that line. I was just watching it a few minutes ago, and everybody was standing in that line, and they just headed straight for him.
That's what we were talking about yesterday with the amount of people that was down there. You could have walked that hill and gone there and picked out your line, and then you come around there, and it's not available because there's a couple hundred people standing in the way.
Yeah, that's kind of a Baja trick, too. I've done Baja a couple times, and you know when you see a crowd of people that they probably built a jump or something, they want to see something cool, so then you just head for the crowd of people because chances are it's pretty smooth where they're standing.
That seems to be par for the course across the racing world, huh, Fred?
Yeah, just like Taylor just said, at Blackwater 100, last year they had it. I went to the creek and I see all these people standing on the sides, and I see the center, and I see they're like up to their ankles. I'm like, I'm going where you guys are standing. So. Whether West Coast or East Coast, it's the same situation. Go for the crowd.
That's it. Well, as we look at these 258 class riders, Cody Barnes leading Chris Vendetti. They got about a 30-second lead over Ryan Slopko right now, the 215 out of Londonderry, Ohio. Lexington, South Carolina's Brewer Cawley running in the number 4 spot. Eric Douglas out of Martinsville, Indiana, rounds out your top 5. And I have to say, I'm kind of surprised that we don't see more of those 258 riders or Indiana boys in the 258 class. We got some problems on that Ironman Hill over there.
Yeah, guys coming down backwards, sliding down on their butt. It's some carnage over there right now. You might want to go over there and check it out.
Yeah, the great thing about that, they got a bus that you can ride over there. They got like 3 buses running back over to the Ironman Hill over there. So if you get a chance to go check it out, be sure and do so here, folks. And again, just sorry for the glitchy cameras, but again, just trying something to get it. And it's like I said yesterday, I don't care. I just like seeing some of the action over there and the amount of people and some of the craziness that goes on over there. So I'll deal with it a little bit here today. Just wow, that dude was rocking it up.
I think it was Chris Bach, actually.
Yeah, I think it was.
Right up that hill like nothing.
Here's a good look at our Stuck MX graphics sponsor. I want to say thanks to Britt for being on hand with us here in 2016. He also sold a lot of breast cancer awareness tickets, stickers, and other items and paraphernalia. And what he did was take every bit of that, 100% of those donations for those items and products that he sold. He's donated it right back to the cause. So I want to say thanks to Britt and Stuck MX Graphics for all the great support that we have from them and from them to the folks here in Montgomery County as well. As we continue to watch here at Ironman Hill. Nice place to picnic and see some good racing out there, I believe. And right now, also looking at the timing and scoring as far as where we are, we have a lapse time now of 1 hour and 11 minutes or so. Again, last reports that we got and have are and we saw on the screen for ourselves, Thad Duval leading Caleb Russell. The gap, the distance,
Don't know that it's so measurable right now, but it's obviously pretty tough. Man, what is going on out here?
Well, that's one of the situations, Rodney, where the one guy was following the other guy closely, and the guy in front of him didn't make it all the way. Then he had nowhere to go, but luckily the crowd's all there. The crowd's holding on to the bikes for him and keeping them safe so they don't fall back down, and they're going to help him get up the hill. And you know, there's just not only this line. There's 2 or 3 different lines up there, and the thing we don't see is right before you come to this hill, you got to actually come through a creek. So you're coming through a creek, and it's probably getting all eaten out and eroded, and it's carrying some water up on the hill. So the hill's going to get worse and worse as the day goes on. But you know, the crowd's there to help everybody out, make sure nobody falls too far down the hill.
Just amazing. The one thing that's making it even, ooh, that guy didn't make it. There's a couple
somebody
guys
didn't grab him.
No, or that guy.
All kinds of cartwheels going on right now.
And you know, you go out there and look at that. You walk it and you look at it and you say, hey, it's not much of a hill. There's not much of a challenge here. But once you run 1,000 ATVs over it, once you run almost 1,000 or more motorcycles over it or whatever, you start to see lots of things develop on that. The jump in particular that we're watching, the roots that are exposed up the face of this, that's some obstacles that we're looking at.
Well, that same jump that was a jump to Caleb and Thad is a kicker for these other guys because they're not hitting at the same speed as everybody else. So it's actually slowing them down. And I mean, just once you lose your momentum, you can see they're jumping off the back of the bike and just ghosting it up there. And you can see the roots are getting bigger and bigger. So every lap it's a challenge. It's never the same. There you go. My bike will get there and just help me up later. So it's a great place to go watch. There's a big giant bridge down there. So if you don't want to climb up on the hill, you can stand on the bridge. You can watch it. So like you said, the bus takes you down there. So how much better does that get?
Yeah, I know. And you're going to see stuff like this. You definitely want to be down there. What we're watching for you folks that are here at the racetrack, in the pits, and not at Ironman Hill, is some cool carnage. I mean, it really stinks. I know those riders are having a tough time, and some of them are probably pretty whooped about right now. It's taken a lot out of them. As you see, they just launched their bikes up the hill and stuff. But there's some really neat action going on Ironman Hill right now. And if you get a chance, go home, watch the archive version on RacerTV.com because you guys are in store for a treat for sure.
Or on YouTube, just like every year, there'll be a whole bunch of Ironman Hill 2016 on YouTube.
You're right. You're absolutely right about that. Hey, folks, we are under 8 minutes due for now Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell in that order at last check, and Jordan Ashburn back in the number 3 spot. Again, Jordan's got some big things going on in his program for 2017. I think he made a big change, monumental change this year, and man, the successes that he had out of this 2016 championship season, all things considered, remarkable. I mean, he's vying for a number 3 position right now. He and Thad are actually battling in points, I believe, no, it's actually Trevor Bollinger from the XC2 Pro Lights are battling for that national number 3 number. The way things are looking, if you're looking at the overall right now, Jordan Ashburn should secure that number 3 again, or should secure number 3 for next year for 2017. So this is going to be pretty good because Trevor's all the way back in 10th place right now, and I think there's like 4 points or something to separate those guys. So Jordan should be able to make up the points needed there. And look at this, out in the field section, here comes our leaders, and look how close together they are, and look how fast they're going right now.
Yeah, right now these guys are doing the European model. Going into the corners, they're going high-low, and they're missing all them bumps. And Caleb's definitely not letting Thad get away. I think because he's learning a little bit, seeing where he's going, and these two got one heck of a race going out here in the open field. As they're starting to come into the woods, they'll be coming to the pro row here shortly, and we'll see if they're. My guess is they're probably putting a little bit of time on Jordan right now because these guys are really going after it now.
I got to say, I just noticed something about Thad that was kind of interesting, and it might be the changing point in what we got going on here, but he does not look like he's riding under any pressure. He doesn't look like there's any sense of urgency whatsoever. He looks like he's normally riding whenever he's just in a kind of a maintain mode, chase mode behind Caleb or somebody that he's trying to lead with out there. He's riding exactly the way he was when he was back in second as he is in first place right now, it looks like.
Yeah, right now he's controlling the race. It's his race to be lost or won. So he's in the driver's seat, and he's just riding as comfortable as he feels he needs to.
And honestly, watch him, and I think you're going to note this as well. He looks more comfortable in this position than I've ever seen him.
Yep. And and someone who haven't talked about it a little bit is Russell Bobbitt. He just won the national championship for the Enduro last weekend, and he's running in 6th place right now. And we've got Stu Baylor right behind him and Grant Baylor behind him. So we've got some other good battles behind the leaders that we haven't been talking about, but Thad Duvall just now stopped for gas, and I noticed that Caleb Russell didn't, so they're kind of on a different schedule. They're both on the same size bikes, 350, so is Thad really going to use that more gas than what Caleb is? So if Thad stops now, Thad's going to have to stop again. Caleb's going to run it one more lap, so Caleb's going to go on a 1-lap stop, and Thad's going to go on a 2-lap stop. Or gas stop, I'm sorry.
Right. That's a pretty interesting way to look at it, and that strategy could win or lose your race, man. So you're going to have to be pretty point on whenever you decide to make your changes. I want to take a look at something here as we got the number 7 of Jordan Ashburn. He is in the pits. He's going to take some gas. And this might be something that works out in his favor and advantage in the future. But real quick, I want to talk a little bit about the XC2 Pro Lights. We talked about Lane Michael. We talked about Trevor Bollinger. Michael Witkowski, who got the whole shot running in 3rd. Craig DeLong, that's Little DeLong. The number 11 is 4th. Jack Edmonston, the 195. You might recognize the name Edmonston. Eddie, Fast Eddie. That's who we're talking about right there. That's Jack Edmonston. That's his son that is here with us here this weekend. The Coastal Racing team, they brought him over and give him a little tryout to see how he likes American style of racing. His dad did it. Actually, his dad is responsible basically for the European invasion of American off-road GNCC. He kind of set the standard, and I think it'd be good to see that legacy here in GNCC with Jack Edmondson. And already, man, looking at the big picture, he's running top 5 right now in that class, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, actually, I'm not surprised to see Eddie's boy Jack be up there, because Eddie was a great rider, and he came to America, and he actually taught us a lot of stuff on how to ride like Europeans do, and these big grass fields and stuff like that. So Jack, like you said, he went over to 6 days. He had a great ride over there. And the Coastal team said, hey, you want to come to America for the last race? Because that's exactly what Eddie did. Eddie came over here after 6 days in 1 year. Nobody really knew who he was, but we knew he was a world champion. He came over here and raced it and did good, and then the following year, he came and did the whole season. So maybe that's what Jack is looking to do, come to America.
And that'd be pretty cool. Like I say, a legacy there, man. I mean, I think that we got a lot of that going on. That's a tradition and a history here at GNCC.
Well, and another thing that's impressive about Jack, which I could be wrong, I didn't look at his bike today, but he raced the 125 all year, and I think he's on a 125 today.
Yeah, either 125 or 150.
I think it's a 150. I think they told me he was. Yeah, it is a
But
150.
either way,
I remember they told me he was going to be racing the 150. That's pretty impressive.
Yes.
Now you said you had seen something impressive. Caleb Russell won here a few years ago on a 150.
Yeah, I remember I was following that race live, and because I knew he had raced the 150 at the 1 or 2 races before that, and it was close, so I wanted to see if he could do it. That was pretty impressive that he pulled that one off.
It most certainly was. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Jack is riding 150. He's 5th place right now in the 5th place in the XC2 Pro Lights. Looking at Lane, Michael Bollinger, Witkowski, DeLong, Edmondson. Nick Davis is 6th in that class. Vance Francis is 7th. Josh Toth is 8th. 9th place, Tegan Temple. And rounding out the top 10 is Jesse Grome. And with that, we talk a lot about these premier classes. One class that we don't want to leave out is one of our premier classes from the 10 a.m. class on a Sunday morning. And what we're talking about is the WXC, the women's cross country. And man, we got another barn burner out there today.
Hey folks, we're here with this morning's winner, our WXC defending, our newly crowned champ, WXC, taking a win here today at the Ironman, finishing up a really strong season. Becca, you gotta be pumped.
Yeah, this is 6 in a row. I mean, last year I won 1 race, and so this year I've just kind of blown that out of the water. And I don't know, on the last lap I was just kind of thinking back all season about the whole season, and I'm really happy, and I can't believe that it was the way it was, and I'm happy to finish up front today.
Well, Becca, we've watched the strength and the momentum and this thing snowball and grow, and watch the performances get better and the wins start coming one after another. What's the one thing you have to attribute that to the most?
There's just been so many positive changes to myself and my bike this year, and everything is just working phenomenally.
And you know what? It seems like you figured these things out, you prioritize them and put them in order and put the pieces in the right place, and the success has come for you. Congratulations, and we'll see you up on the podium in just a few minutes.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, Becca Sheets, congratulations to her, man. That girl right there has come a long way over the last few years. She had the biggest heart for GNCC racing coming from the moto side of things, and she had some struggles there for a few years and seen her come so close so many times to be denied, but man, once she crossed that threshold, there was no stopping that young lady.
Yeah, as soon as Becca got that first win, I think she always knew what it took, but until you get that first win, once you get that first win, then you want to keep on winning. And, you know, she's learned a lot from Casey, following and riding with her, and now it's a little bit of changing of the guard. Now Casey was following her and chasing her that whole race, and those two had a great battle, and my hat's off to both of them because those girls have really picked up the pace. You know, the girls are going faster and faster every year, and those two are a big reason why.
Well, we didn't see it on race, or maybe we did, I don't know, but Caleb Russell has checked in out front. He actually got back around Thad Duvall, stretched it out 3.8 seconds, so I'm thinking that maybe Thad made a little bit of a mistake.
He got gas.
Oh, that's okay. Well, that is not
That's
much.
pretty impressive.
That's real impressive.
That's what an IMS quick fill system will do for you, 8 seconds in and out, because Thad had a little bit of a lead.
And he only lost a little under 4 seconds. That's pretty amazing.
That's
Jordan
pretty awesome for Thad if he can still be pacing off of Caleb after a gas stop. And then this next lap, you know, Thad will probably be in the opposite position that he's in now because Caleb will be 4 seconds behind him.
Yeah, he doesn't even probably have to try to, he just has to hang right there, wait for Caleb to pit. He'll get the gimme on that one. That's a pretty good point there. Jordan Ashburn, 1 minute and 13 seconds down. That tells you what kind of a pace we got with Caleb Russell and Thad Duvall. And folks, if this is tip of the iceberg or what we're in store for 2017 in Thad Duvall's rise to the top of the ranks here, man, this is going to be pretty sweet. And you throw in, get a healthy Josh Strang out there and a few more of these healthy guys that are going to be coming back next year. I'm sure Lane Michael's going to be getting into the mix of things along with several other riders. I mean, there's so many names that we could name right now, but we're starting to see, I think, a new influx of things, and we're about to see some things change. So let's see, was that Michael that just checked in there, Lane? Let's see.
I thought it was Ricky Russell, one of the two.
Lane Michael checking in. He did check in. He's still 4th place overall. We got Corey Buttrick, Russell Bobbitt in 5th place overall, 4th in class. Corey Buttrick is 6th. Stu Baylor 7th. Little baby Baylor in 8th place. We got Chris Bach in 9th, and you probably did see Ricky Russell just checking in. 11th place is, I think, still Trevor Bollinger. Trevor doesn't have anything to prove, anything to do, other than he was coming out trying to secure at least, secure the number 3 number plate here for 2017. I think he told me it was 6 points that separated he and Thad, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, or no, actually it was Jordan, I guess, wasn't it?
Yeah, him and Jordan.
Him and Jordan. So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch, to see how that all pans out in the end of this one today. And I know that right now Jordan's got to be pretty stoked to know that he's going to be able to move up several positions in the overall himself this year. And we've seen that steady progression out of him.
Yeah, and I think Jordan's stoked about getting a factory ride for next year. You know, last year he had a deal with the Ampro Yamaha team. This year he didn't have anything, so he went out on his own. The KTM shop, I'm sorry, I don't know their name, Westfield or
Westfield Power Sports.
Westfield Power Sports picked him up to help him out because they saw something good in Jordan, and Jordan came through and showed that he was worthy with some great rides on that KTM this year, and now Beta's picked him up for next year, so he's on the factory ride for next year. Having that number 3 is even going to be a big asset to them, and Jordan's on a roll. Jordan's back.
We've seen some great strides out of the Beta motorcycle as well. We have to give hats off to a lot of the riders that have been testing and building that machine, and also Nick Davis, who's going to be a part of that team here in 2016 as well. Looking at some interesting stats there, it looks like, Taylor Robert.
I was just looking at the points. We actually got a kind of a 3-way battle for 3rd in the points right now because Thad is only 6 points behind Jordan, and then another 5 points to Trevor. So depending on what order they finish in, that could be number 3 right there. If Lane gets in between Thad and Jordan, that could be Thad's 3rd spot, and then depending on where Trevor finishes, we could have a pretty interesting points finish.
Very good point. And I was thinking that Thad was somewhere in there close someplace, but and that's why I think I mentioned his name. But Bollinger, Ashburn, and Duvall. And you know what? Let's go ahead and do a halfway report because people are screaming, let's talk about other classes. Let's talk about other classes. Let's talk about other classes. Let's go to
Our first class that we're going to be talking about here today is the pro class. We give you the order in an overall factor whenever we're talking about it right there, with Lane Michael being in the 4th place position. But here's the way the top 10 are working in the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report here at the Ironman GNCC. Caleb Russell ahead of Thad Duvall. Jordan Ashburn back in the number 3 spot. Here's where we start to see the changes. Russell Bobbitt is 4th place here in class. Corey Buttrick now in the number 5 spot of the XC1 Pro class. Stu Baylor up in the 6th. Grant Baylor is 7th. Chris Bach now up to an 8th place position as Ricky Russell runs 9th. And new to the XC1 Pro class and Infab Am Pro Yamaha team, Ben Kelly, the 530, rounds out the top 10. Note of interest, Shane Sewell, who is a local Indiana top motocrosser on the national circuit. Shane Sewell is running 12th place right now in the XC1 Pro class. Now we next check in with Ryan McManus and the boys as the Open B class is looking pretty competitive itself today. McManus a 1 minute 22 second lead over Corey Jordan, the 501. Dominic Jarvis, Dom, and the boys, again, want to say thanks to those guys for supper last night. They bought me over the chicken, the corn, the baked beans, all the good stuff out of out of Wallace, West Virginia. Dominic is running in the number 3 spot. Michael Davis, the 279 out of Cutler, Ohio, is 4th. Brian Oberchain out of Rosedale, Indiana, rounds out your top 5 there in Open B. As we take a look next, this will be Dakota DeVore, the 483 in the 250B class, leading out of Yerkesville, Ohio. Matthew Davis out of Birchmanville, Pennsylvania, 247 in 2nd. 144, James Harshberger out of Fairmont, West Virginia, is 3rd. 4th place, 654, Noah Stevens from Valdez, North Carolina. And rounding out the top 5, the 407 of Nathan Rector out of Rogersville, Missouri. That's your 250B class. Next, we continue with the B ranks, and Hank Hayes, 200B class leader, motocross as well as GNCC crossover, rider out of Oakdale, Pennsylvania, 5:39 with 1 minute and 6 seconds. Man, this kid's really found his feet in the woods, I think, because he's started not only leading but stretching some pretty big leads out over Vail, North Carolina's Nathan Davis right now, 1 minute and 6.5 seconds back. T. Secura, who's also a top contender in this class, the 311 out of Fairmont, West Virginia, only a half second behind Davis right now. Looking at Hayden Van Kuren, the 356 out of Laurelville, Ohio, in 4th, and Michael DeLosa, the 478 out of Gillette, PA, to round out the top 5 in the 200B class. As we look next here in the Mid-State Midway Report, we got the 4-stroke B Lights class. Troy Lieberman out of Columbus, North Carolina, leading Delphi, Indiana's Colt Kinsler, who is in 2nd place aboard the 385. 229, Hunter Williams from Sophia, North Carolina, the Husky is 3rd. 4th place, Brendan Pulling out of Grafton, West Virginia, the 326. 5th place, then, the 500, Jake Darman out of Valparaiso, Indiana. And that is your top 5 4-stroke B Lights class.
Not to interrupt you, Rodney, but right now on the screen we've got Caleb Russell in 1st, Thad Duvall in 2nd on the motocross track now. They're going to do this little bit of motocross section, and then they drop through a creek and back into the woods. But Caleb Russell is definitely back in the lead, and Thad's a couple seconds behind him.
And if you notice, a lot of lap traffic these guys are in right now, Fred.
Yeah, you know, and the lappers come into big effect with these guys when they're going that fast. You know, you come up on a guy that fast, you're going to make a split decision, and all these guys are get out of your way, but you kind of almost got to guess, are they going to go right or you got to go left? So it's a tricky game you got to play.
Yes, it most certainly is, and it's going to be very fun to see how this all unfolds out here today as we continue to watch on the moto track. We should be seeing coming through in just a moment the 7 of Jordy Ashburn, but we're looking now at the scores after 2 laps of racing for the Vet B 30 plus class. And Kyle Ulvey is the 379, and he is leading this one out of Sterling, Illinois by 1 minute and 1 second over Bill Zavendi, the 103 out of Cabot, PA. 482, Mike Barber from Elyria, Ohio is 3rd. 384, Jared Hoffman out of South Park, PA is 4th. Bobby Steins from Martinsville, Indiana, the 381, rounds out the top 5 in the Vet B 30 plus class. As we take a look next, Christian Broombaugh leading the senior B class from Williamsburg, PA. There's one of those beta machines that Jordan Ashburn is going to be riding on next year. KTM rider Jeffrey Flynn, 232 out of Oldfields, West Virginia, running a couple minutes back in the number 2 spot. Daniel Cleveland, the 624 out of Air, New York, is 3rd. 4th place, 366, Daryl Schlebach, and he's out of Pataskala, Ohio. Sarver, PA's to Gene Swida. He's the 638, rounding out that 5th place position in the senior B 40 plus class. As we look next to
the XC2 Pro Lights class, where Lane Michael, after 3 laps of racing, had the lead there. Little DeLong, Craig DeLong, the 11 machine, running in the second place position in the Morgantown, Pennsylvania, minute 22 seconds back. Trevor Bollinger, wow, he's 11th place overall, and that's what's counting for the overall point standings right now, but he's 3rd in class with an 8.4 second deficit. 3:30 Vance Francis out of Bonnyman, Kentucky. In 5th place, the 195 Jack Edmondson out of England. One thing I do want to point out about Trevor Bollinger, we're talking about him being back in 10th and 11th place overall right now. Remember, consistently, we've seen that riders in positions like this and not only work his way up into a podium position or fight, but actually take wins in the class. So don't count out TB10 or TB1 at this particular point just yet. 6th place, Mike Witkowski. 7 is Josh Toth. Jesse Grom in 8th. Nick Davis rounds out 9th place with Zach Hayes rounding out the top 10 in the XC2 Pro Lights class. As we go to our A-class competitors now, Ted Mullins, which is a name, man, seems like a while since I've read that one. Open A Lights class leader. 42nd lead over Austin Butler, the 2 left from Oak Grove, Missouri. Walker, West Virginia is home to Brady Myers, the 48, who runs about 26 seconds back in 3rd. 4th place, the 44, Vincent Smith from Nashville, Indiana. 262, Cole Kirkhoff out of Monroe City, Indiana, rounds out the top 5 in Open A competition here in Indiana. Now we're 32 minutes into this race now, as we are pretty much officially in the halfway point. Cody Barnes leading the 258 class. We were talking about those guys a few moments ago. We're going to check the overall, see if they're in contention for overall top amateur or not. But Sterling, Illinois is where he comes from, as Londonderry, Ohio is home to Ryan Slopko, the 215, and major 258 competitor seemingly most of the time, but today he's in the number 2 spot. Chris Vendetti, the 36, is 3rd out of Fort Mill, South Carolina. 4th place, the 57, Brewer Cawley from Lexington, South Carolina. The 41 of Eric Douglas out of Martinsville, Indiana, rounds out the top 5 in the 250A class. Next, I believe we go to the 4-stroke A, no, this is 200A class. This is Jesse Ansley leading this one out of Miami City, Florida, the 329. 22, Chris Douglas from Cincinnati, Ohio, is running in the number 2 position on the 22. And according to this, now get this, it says the time behind on these two, flat zeros. It's 0 across the board. Lap time for Ansley was a 29:59. Chris Douglas was a 28:24. So I'm thinking that something may be happening to Ansley, and a great lap by Chris Douglas there puts them neck and neck at the finish line. So we have literally got a side-by-side battle. As Jesse Ansley checks in now after 3 laps. That was after 2 laps. After 3 laps, Jesse Ansley has checked in, and it looks like he might have stretched that lead back out just a little bit for that comfort zone. We wait here for just a few moments to see if Chris is going to be checking in. And right now it's been about 10 seconds or so, and he hasn't. So he put on a good push that 1 lap, but Jesse rose to the occasion of 29:59 lap time on that time around too. So talk about consistency for Ansley there.
And we just had on the board right now, Rodney going by, it was little DeLong, little Craig DeLong with
I don't feel like the only one here today.
the XC2 guy. What's his name on the Honda?
Bollinger.
Bollinger. Bollinger was right on his tail. I mean, you see these guys go by, and I see the number, and I see him, you just draw a blank. But yeah, Bollinger and little DeLong have gotten together.
There you go. There you go. All right, we got a report of Thad Duvall at Ironman. Thad Duvall at Ironman Hill, and a report of no sign of Caleb Russell. I'm going to get into this. This is what we're hearing from the producer right now. Stand by on that. We're going to go trackside. Hang on, let the radio traffic slow down a little bit here, right here. But you know something I noticed, I didn't realize, but I guess Jesse actually has 3 laps. And Chris only has 2 laps, so I guess maybe Jesse actually made the pass on him. I feel like, okay, egg on my face there that time. So you forgetting the name don't seem so bad now, Fred.
But but we're entertaining, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Hey, we're entertaining each other, if nothing else.
Exactly, exactly. Hey, track crew, we just got a report that there might be some issues and some changes up front. Can somebody let me know what's going on?
I'm waiting for him at the 7. I'll give you a call when they get here.
10-4, so we're going to wait and see. I don't know if that story is going to hold water or hold
Is Tim Cotter still down at the hill?
I'm not sure if Tim's down there yet or not. Tim Cotter, are you at the hill? So here we go. Wow, we talked.
Okay, so basically, we was talking about Ansley, and we're waiting right now for this report right now, but Ansley and Douglas, and we talked about, Jesse Turner at 29:59, and well, look at this. Lap 2 was a 35:03 for Chris Douglas, and now the gap is 3 minutes 42 seconds. That goes to show you, man, Ansley's, man, that kid is going to be a force to be reckoned with, no doubt. So we still wait to listen and hear. And can you say that once again, Chelsea? I'm sorry. We need the pit crew of last name Jikes. So the pit crew of Jikes, please report to the medic station. Once again, the pit crew of the Jikes, please report to the medic station. And yeah, again, as we wait right now to find out what's going on with Caleb. Guys, have we got any updates yet on the issue up front or possible issues up front?
Yeah, Rodney, they just came past the 7-mile mark. Both those guys are still going pretty good, though. Caleb Russell's out front. Thad Duvall's right on them, though. You can throw a blanket over there against those guys. And they've been through for about 15 seconds now, and still no sign of third place.
Okay, 10-4, you just confirmed what we were wondering about. Thank you very much. So there's the report now. We got the report. No sign of Russell at Ironman Hill. But again, you got to remember, there's multiple lines there, so they might have been watching one hill, and Caleb might have went up another while Thad went up one. So that could be where that confusion comes in out there. So, and that happens quite often out here. That's why we had to check.
They're into lap traffic now too, so you might think somebody was a lapper or something like that.
Exactly. Very good point. You're new to GNCC, and you already figured that out. That's pretty cool. So as we continue to in the mid-state, I'm not done. I got a few A classes I wanted to touch on here, but the 200 A class is checking in with 3 laps complete. Ansley, 3:42 over Douglas. I just have to point that out. This kid's coming. And this kid's going to mean business. This kid could be the next big threat as far as XC1 and XC2 class racing is concerned.
Yeah, he got in the mini class last year, like you said, and he just totally dominated it, and he's doing the right thing. He stepped up to 200A class, and he's doing exactly what he did in the mini bike class. So it's amazing that a guy from Florida can ride the dirt that good, but I guess he's been doing it for a while, and it's only better things for come to him.
I agree with you in that. So Ansley, Douglas, Adam Bonor is 3rd, Chase Hayes in 4th, 5th place. Hunter Reimer, I believe he moved up from the youth ranks. He'd been a top youth rider, winning overalls, I think even just as recently as maybe St. Clairsville or Masontown there a few weeks ago. But now we see him out here in 5th place of this class, so congratulations to him. We go to the 250A class next, and the 250A class, Braxton McGee is leading the this is a 4-stroke A lights class. We just got done talking about the 250A class there, Chelsea. 4-stroke A lights class, Braxton McGee leading this one. He is the number 33 machine. He had a 3.8 second lead over Nathan Ferderer, the 534 out of Forest Lake, Minnesota. Then, of course, in 3rd place, the 35 of Hunter Shelton out of Hartford, Tennessee, 1 minute and 6 seconds back. So we got something going on in the 4-stroke A lights class right now that we have going on in the pro class with a big gap in between 2nd and 3rd. Dustin Simpson in 4th place aboard the 503 out of Wesley Chapel, North Carolina. The Nicholas Swenson, the 465, rounding out the top 5 there out of Delano, Minnesota. Andrew France leading next as we look at the junior AB 25 plus class out of Louisville, Ohio. Lucas Towery, the 544 out of Latimer, North Carolina, son of Ricky Towery, the finish line flagger and start man. Lucas running 2nd. Logan Chilman, the 699, is 3rd. 4th place, the 426, Joseph McCarty out of Mount Clair, West Virginia. By the way, Chilman from Kaminsky, Indiana. Wayne, West Virginia. Oh, the old W, man. Out Wayne. Mason Stevens, 334, representing there in the junior AB 25 plus class for those guys. We go next to, I believe this would be 30 plus A, if I'm not mistaken. Nathan Alring is leading there, more than number 94 out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and a blast from the past, man. You raced this guy on more than one occasion, Fred Andrews. Brian Garahan is here with us, the 536 in Boulder Creek, California, running in the number 2 spot right there, only 28 seconds down behind Nathan Alring. That's good to see him back here doing so well, huh?
Yeah, it sure is, and I heard Brian put on a race out there in California, and he's testing his skills, doing a little promoting, and it's nice to see him come back here to this race. And right on the screen right now, we got Caleb Russell in the lead, and Thad Duvall in second. It seems like Caleb maybe a couple seconds on him, but Thad lost a little bit of side of him. But Caleb's going to have to gas this time, and Thad isn't. So maybe that's just going to be tighten things right back up again, Rodney.
You can see that the way Thad is riding right now, there's no sense of urgency, still no sense of urgency. He kind of sat down. I think he knows what's going on going into the pits right there. So we'll probably likely see a lead change right here. Real quick, I want to finish these out. Garahan second and 30+ A. Joe Mars, Big Jim Steiner in fourth. Ryan Inman rounds out the top 5. And then as we go to the senior A class, Rick Burton leading Sean Remington by only 23 seconds. Frank Tussle out of New Jersey is running in the number 3 spot. Jeff Husted, the 988 is fourth. And Todd Gearing, the number 5 spot there in that senior A 40+ classes. Caleb Russell makes his way on to VP Fuels Pro Row. He now makes his way into, the pit stop.
Thad must have stopped again.
Must have stopped again because
there
he goes.
Yeah.
There he goes.
And we're back on.
So now, new lead change, and Thad Duvall, your new leader, Johnny Gallagher, out and about. And I know he's been watching a lot of this racing today. Johnny, what have you been able to take in so far today?
You know, Rodney, there's a lot of stories unfolding here and things happening. Obviously, we just got to see a pass in the VP Fuels Pro Row. Caleb Russell came in, looked like a little bit of a fumble pit stop, and that opened the door for Thad Duvall to take over the lead. These guys have been swapping it back and forth hot and heavy, and the pace really shows right now that both these guys want to win this season-ending race really badly. And, I think one of the other stories to follow, and I was out, couldn't exactly hear you guys, so I don't know if you've already been talking about this, but Jack Edmondson running there in the one of our top positions in the XC2 class, and on a 150, I watched him, I'm not going to mention any names or what brand of bike it was, but I watched him literally ride around the outside of a much larger displacement 4-stroke machine in a field and make him look pretty silly. So that's that Euro style, carrying your speeds, getting out of the rough stuff, and he's really shredding up the track out there right now.
That's awesome, and he is riding with Coastal Husky this weekend, so he's running 5th place in the XC2 Pro Lights class, and right now that's pretty impressive. A legacy, man. I think GNCC is now, the new days of GNCC is based on legacy. Heck, Johnny, you're a legacy of GNCC yourself, brother.
I don't think you can be a legacy if you're still here. I think I have to go away and then come back. But
no,
I'm just not smart enough to leave yet.
That's a legend. You got to think about the definitions. A legend is somebody that may have gone away. A legacy is someone that picks up where a legend left off, and your dad was certainly that. So you are a legacy.
I surely won't argue that. But I remember years ago watching Paul Edmondson come over here, and I know he used to race against Fred and a lot of those guys back in the day, and he had that Euro style, and he was one of the first guys to come over and really have some success and win races. And cool story with the Tuesday Toolbox that Chuck LeMaster did this week with Jack Edmondson, and just kind of a chance happening where he came across Scott Kiger, and they put the plan together, and absolutely last minute just made it all happen. And boy, talk about bad timing, Rodney. I think you got some news for the folks out there.
Yeah, I think we just got a report that Edmondson may have actually just ran out of gas on that 150 between the 3 and the 4 mile marker. Now, he can get some gas and he'll be able to limp back to the pits, but man, what a heartbreaker.
You think about it, and that's one of those things that GNCC really brings to the table is the planning that it takes to, you have to know your machine, you have to know your mileage. I know the stories of Auntie and the boys over at KTM knowing exactly to the liter how much, or to the quarter of a liter, how much fuel they're going to use each mile. That's something you have to know. So hats off to him for the way he was riding. Unfortunately, maybe they just miscalculated the fuel mileage on that little 150, or maybe he was just wringing that thing's neck a little too hard.
Probably a little of both. He was probably wringing it a lot harder than what they expected. And because 3 miles into a 12-mile race course, that's basically a quarter of a lap. So I think you're right. He probably wringing it a lot harder than what they even realized he was.
Speaking of the pit technique, it's going to come down to be pretty interesting here at the end, because Thad pitted on lap 3 and Caleb pitted on lap 4. So Thad could potentially go 4 laps if he goes all the way to the end, because they're on the same bike. But if he actually does or not, could that could potentially determine the win right there.
It could. That's what. Yeah, pitting strategy when you're this tight. Every second counts.
And you got to think, okay, did they get Thad filled all the way to the top too? Right. You got there's so many different variables you throw in there. But yeah, if I was in that situation, Thad's either got to try picking it up that 1 lap and get, which might be impossible, but get 10 to 15 seconds on Caleb, and then he can pit and still have a little cushion. But if they're together, that's when you got to roll the dice. It's the last race of the year. I'd rather go out a winner and run out of gas, you know, because if Caleb did it, well, shoot, I should be able to do it too.
Right.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there. And right now, believe it or not, we still got an hour and 15 minutes or so of racing left to go here as we approach the 1:45 mark, working up on the 2-hour mark in about 15 minutes as Lane Michael, leader of the XC2 Pro Lights class, making his way out of the pro pits now. Coastal Racing pits. He still maintains that 4th place position. You're wondering how things are looking there. Lap times last time around 25:55 for Thad Duvall, a 26:01 for Caleb Russell. Again, I credit that to the pit stop that he took. Jordan Ashburn, we continue to wait on him. By the way, Duvall and Russell just checked in just moments ago. So we wait, should be about 1 minute and 13 seconds back to Jordan Ashburn. Last time around, the elapsed time had Ashburn and Michael's difference being, looks like 32 seconds. And it looked like Lane was actually a little bit faster by about 7 seconds. So if that continues to be the case, then, you know, we might see Lane actually chip away at that lead, that 3rd place position, and inch his way a little closer to a possible 3rd place overall position here today. That's I know we're counting down and checking away at it with an hour and 15 minutes to go, but this is the point of the race when everything starts to fall in place. After the pits have all been taken care of, the 2-hour mark, Taylor, if you're not familiar with GNCC, that's where the tail of the tape is, because if you can continue to push and you can find that little extra oomph to go that last hour, those last 2 laps or so, that's where the races are won and lost. I mean, we see a lot of great battles. We see a lot of excitement, things that will just blow your mind through 2 hours of racing. But what you see at the 2-hour mark, not necessarily what you see at the 3-hour mark.
No, definitely. And I've done we were talking earlier about all the different types of racing I've done, and I've done a handful of 3-hour races and, you know, even 5, 6, 7-hour races. And it always comes down to who can hang it out in that last part of the race, because if you're fast for 2 hours and 45 minutes, it doesn't mean anything if you can't finish 3 hours.
Exactly. Especially when you got a race going on like that Duvall and Caleb Russell do right now. You cannot give any whatsoever because it'll be capitalized upon.
And we talk about this track being sticky and using more fuel. And when it's sticky like that, also, it's more physical on you because you're always fighting the bike. You're never really getting to relax because the bike's always kind of getting stuck and working, so you're physically moving all the time. So this track, or this race, is also a little bit harder on your conditioning, and we're going to see who's in really good shape, which we know Thad and we know Caleb are, but let's just see about the rest of the guys, what kind of shape they've been in. You know, it's getting towards the end of the year. Have they been slacking off a little bit, or have they been still training like they should?
Well, right now it is Thad Duvall leading Caleb Russell. Jordan Ashburn, we wait for him for 3rd place at the finish line as our top 3 overall motor their way around, and Lane Michael inches his way forward from the XC2 Pro Lights class for a possible podium position finish today. As well, we look back at 21st place right now. Our first non-XC1 or XC2 Pro Class riders there is 250A class leader Cody Barnes out of Sterling, Illinois, who is currently our top amateur right now with a little over an hour of racing left to go. Will he be able to hang on to that? Can Thad Duvall win this thing? And what about Lane Michaels? Is he going to be able to bridge that gap into a possible podium? Stick around. GNCC Live continues after this.
When it comes to protecting your engine, AMSOIL offers the next level performance truck owners demand. AMSOIL provides 75% more engine protection against horsepower loss and wear than required by a leading industry standard, extending the life of pistons and cams. Give the vehicle you love the above and beyond fortification it deserves. AMSOIL, devoted to protection.
Maxxis Tires.
Here at Rocky Mountain ATV MC, our goal has always been to get you the best price and provide quality service. Now, we're giving you one more reason to shop with Rocky Mountain. We call it Quick Cash. It's simple to get. Just place an order with a qualifying Quick Cash item and get cash to spend on your next order. Try it out today. RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready.
And welcome back to GNCC Live here from Crawfordsville, Indiana. Rodney Tomlin along with Fred Andrews. Johnny Gallagher. Johnny on the spot today, out and about. And, of course, our ISDE overall winner, Taylor Robert, in the house with us here from Red Bull Factory KTM. Don't forget, tweet your podium finish predictions to hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL products. Winner will be chosen randomly. The only thing that requirement there is that you hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win. So be doing that, and good luck to you, folks.
Yeah, you don't have to be right. You just got to play.
That's it. Just kind of like the lottery. You can't win if you don't play, you know what I mean? So Thad Duvall leading Caleb Russell. Stu Baylor is into the number 3 spot now. Is that what it's saying? Grant Baylor up to 4th. Jordan Ashburn back in the number 5 spot. Now this is results from the XC1 Pro class. Lane Michaels dropped back to 10th place, and this might be the switch up and the change that we're talking about out there. Leaders, I thought they were saying that Caleb and Thad are actually, that Caleb had disappeared out of things. Well, here's what we got going on. Jordan Ashburn pitted, and it looks like both the Baylor boys were able to get by him. I didn't realize the Baylor boys were so close. So as Jordan pitted, Stu Baylor gets into the number 3 spot. That's pretty monumental for Stu, and there's a name that we didn't even mention as far as an overall podium. And how great would it be to see Stu Baylor be able to end this season on a note like this with a podium position finish? I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, especially after the hard road he's had the last 3 years. You know, Stu's been up there a lot. He's been hurt a lot, and he keeps on plugging away, keeps on coming back. He's lost his, his factory KTM ride, and he went out on his own, and he's been plugging away and doing better and doing better. And SRT picked him up this year, and he's won some national enduros. So it's great to see Stu sticking at it, and it would be great to see him on the podium.
That's it. Baby brother Grant right behind him now. There are about 7 seconds that separate those two. But listen to this. There's 3 minutes between the 2nd and 3rd place ride. That's the level that Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell are riding at right now. Baylor boys are back 3 minutes behind that. Jordan Ashburn only, less than a second behind Grant Baylor. So don't count Jordan Ashburn back out of this one yet. Ricky Russell is 6th. 7th is Russell Bobbitt. 8th, Chris Bach. 9th place, Corey Buttrick. Rounding out the top 10, and this is after 4 laps and after time adjustment, is Lane Michael. So Michael drops from 4th place back to 10th place, but he continues to lead the XC2 Pro Lights class. The lead now, 1 minute and 11 seconds. Wait a minute, let me look at that. No, 46 seconds. I'm sorry, 46 seconds. Michael's lap time went to a 28:09, nearly a minute slower than Ben Kelly, who is back there in that number 11 spot. Now, he is a XC1 class rider, and I was thinking he was XC2, just moved up, sorry about that. But Craig DeLong is back there 46 seconds, and that is still pretty close back there for him, I think. So this is not over yet for Lane Michael. I mean, he had a fairly long lap time that time. He'd been running within just a handful of seconds of Jordan Ashburn and Thad and Caleb and all those guys. I mean, throughout this entire race, maintaining a solid 4th place position. But here he is now back in 10th and still maintaining the lead in the XC2 Pro Lights class.
An interesting thing to say about Craig DeLong, he's rode a 2-stroke all year long, Rodney. This race, he's actually racing a 4-stroke.
Wow.
So this is a big change for him. It's a little bit, the bike's totally different, so he's still learning that. So it's a really great race for Craig DeLong to be running 2nd place right now in that new 4-stroke. And we can see right now on the screen, we've got Caleb Russell back in the lead. Thad Duvall's in 2nd on the motocross track. They're coming down through the section here, and they're getting ready to go back in the woods again. But Caleb Russell's taking the lead over again, and Thad's right on his tail.
Well, right where he wants to be, I believe. This is exactly, I mean, you know it as well as I do. It's at this level, sometimes it becomes a game of cat and mouse between these guys out there. And I know that Thad's fine with being the cat chasing the little mouse around the track right now.
Yeah, but so on this one, is this the lap Thad's going to stop for gas, or is Thad going to wait till the next lap?
That's a good question. I mean, we are looking right now, approaching the 2-hour mark, and
so he should be able to go one more lap before he fuels then. So they should be 1 out, and then he should fuel, and then Caleb should be out good till the end.
I think that's the way it should figure out. But again, remember what you stated. Remember what we saw out of Jack Edmondson. We see that the fuel mileage is not as good as what maybe had been anticipated, and that might be par across the board there for all the teams, all the riders out there. So, you know, I'm sure that all of a sudden, if you see that happening with Jack, and maybe, I guess a lot of the tail of the tape will be how much fuel was used whenever they did do their pit stop as to whether or not they think they'll need to do another pit stop. So I imagine there's a lot of mathematical calculations going on right now.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of calculator stuff going on. Like you said, Rodney, when they filled that up the last time, they should say, hey, this is how much fuel they used. They had this much left. Can we go another lap? And right now we're back on the hill. Oh,
I believe that might have been Sam Shaver, who is actually the son of Ken Shaver and the grandson of Tom Shaver, who, well, Tom, obviously, grandpa, is the one that, you know, has a family farm, and then dad and Junior. So Sammy having some problems up there on the Ironman Hill. He lives here and he can't even climb the dang thing. What's going on there?
He said, man, I've climbed this thing 100 times. Why can't I make it now?
It's a whole different situation under these conditions, isn't it?
It sure is. And like, you know, see right now we got an extra line going around the outside, so there is other ways around it if you don't feel comfortable going up. And even those aren't good. Even the other ways are tough. But yeah, the spectators play a lot of the part of this. You know, one guy gets stuck and they all jump in there, help him. And if you're committed and the spectators in your way, a lot of these guys have to turn off and don't make the hill.
And right now we are still approaching the 2-hour mark. Caleb Russell back out front of Thad Duvall. Again, the big story right now, the Baylor boys are in the 3rd and 4th place positions. Jordan Ashburn. Now, this will be interesting. Next time we get to see these guys on camera to see exactly how that is. It's hard to tell with these pink number plates nowadays, you know?
Yeah, everybody's got a pink number plate on for this, you know, for a good cause, and it's hard to tell who's who and what class they're in.
Well,
I think that's Shotgun Sean Remington.
That is Shotgun Sean. It is.
I'm going to start calling him No Arrow Sean.
You know, this weekend, a pink race. Speaking of the pink backgrounds, just want to let people know what's going on. This is our pink race that we call it, pink out. You know, you hear that a lot. It is the actual our opportunity for breast cancer awareness, I guess you could say, to get people out there aware of the fact that they need to go get tested, you know, mammograms, and not only the women, but we also say it for the men. You know, cancer is something that affects everyone, and we just want everyone to be aware of it. So we do this pink race. The pink backgrounds are there, and we at GNCC Racing this weekend, yesterday raised over $7,800 that we're going to be donating to the Montgomery County folks here. Faith Alliance, which helps out with a lot of the free clinics for free mammograms and things like that. So $7,800. And we actually sold the backdrop last night, auctioned the backdrop off, $7,100. And they got the backdrop, Tim Cotter's shirt, and pants. They said, we're only taking it if we get you. One said, I want your shirt. The other one said, I want your pants. Two people came together and got that thing for $7,100. So thanks again for all the support locally and nationally here at the Ironman for our show of support and our pink out race here at the Ironman.
And Rodney, while you were talking on screen, we noticed that Ricky Russell actually passed Jordan Ashburn here on the motocross track heading into the woods.
Is that Stu Baylor right there?
That's actually
Corey Buttrick.
Okay.
Yeah, Corey Buttrick, the 121. He was 9th back there.
And hats off to Corey Buttrick for winning National Hare Scrambles last weekend. Enduro, I'm sorry. It's been a while since he's won a race, so our hats off to him.
Yeah, I think we've got the possibility of seeing some things, old things out of a familiar face there in Corey Buttrick. You know, he's another one of those riders that a few years ago suffered from injury, having a long, hard road back. But, man, his stick-to-itiveness is becoming apparent that he really wants this and really continues to dig deep here. So right now, as we watch, let's see, Ricky, last check, who's that?
That's Caleb Russell going up the big hill.
Yep, up Ironman Hill.
Thad right on.
Oh, man, Thad is literally within inches of that rear tire going up Ironman Hill. For those of you that are watching this or listening to this right now, don't know necessarily what's going on. We got a couple minutes, actually about 3 minutes back to Stu Baylor. So if we put a clock on it right now, 2 hours into this race now,
So at about the 2 hour and 3 minute mark, we should be seeing the Baylor boys coming. So then we'll be able to get a better idea of Stu, Grant, Jordan, Ricky Russell, Russell Bobbitt, see how things are going there, because it looks like, Fred, that things are really starting to tighten up quite a bit there. Ricky Russell's only 20 seconds back. You look at the lap time, he turned a 26:30, which was faster. Wow, the fastest lap, except for the top two riders of Duvall and Russell. So, man, that's pretty impressive. It's Duvall Washington, living now here in the state of Indiana as he rides for the MCS Obermeyer Suzuki folks over there. Rough and rowdy, as we like to call him. Man, he's a man on a mission, it looks like. A full minute plus 24 seconds faster than Jordan Ashburn that last time around.
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, he did pass him on the moto track, and Ricky Russell's had a great last two races, Rodney. He's really come together with that Suzuki. He's been on the podium the last few races, and he's still plugging away. You know, he kind of fell back at the beginning, but he's plugging his way back up to the front. It'd be interesting to see if he can catch up to the Baylor boys.
It will be, and you know, it's interesting to watch the Ricky Russell, especially if you know the story, man. Top rider out of Washington. You know, he pretty much accomplished everything he could on the West Coast. About 4 years ago, decided he wanted to come out and try his hand at GNCC. He found a bigger obstacle, I think, than what he realized he was going to be facing, and he fell in love. And as frustrating and as everything was, some of the seasons were, he stuck to it. And we're finally starting to see things click for that rider, and I'm really happy and excited for Rough and Rowdy, as I like to call him, because he has really made some great strides here in 2016.
Yeah, he's definitely come alive here at the end of the year, and that's the best time to come alive to get yourself a ride for next year, Rodney. So we don't want to see him go home. We want to see him here again next year.
I don't think he's got to worry about a ride with the MCS boys over there. Those guys really seem to be very happy with what they have gotten out of their riders so far this year, and I imagine that we'll see more of that hopefully in the future, because when things are meshing so well, bike and rider, team, all things are looking that good. Why do you want to change it? Why do you want to shake it up? I don't think they're going to change a thing, but just keep moving forward.
No, I'm not saying that they're to get rid of him, but he's going to be more valuable. So you know he's going to be a bigger asset to them to have for the team, and better for them to go out and get sponsors with.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point, because then now you got a team that has a good sponsorship and a good base. You're right, and that's a very good point, that you can build on that with your riders and the successes of not only one rider, but if you have multiple riders on your team, you can utilize that. There goes Stu Baylor in the number 3 spot. Grant Baylor, baby Baylor back there in the number 4 spot. They're literally nose to tail themselves. Not quite as close as what Thad and Caleb were there going up that hill, but they're still pretty close. And this is good. And I know these guys train a lot together, and they push each other a lot.
And I believe that was Ricky Russell right there too, Rodney.
It doesn't surprise me, as you said. Now listen, then that makes a lot of sense, because if he's gotten up and around, he turned about a 21 second faster, actually, let's see, than Grant Baylor last time, a 20-second faster lap than Grant Baylor did even last time, and there was 21 second gap, so that explains what's going on there, man. I mean, he's staying consistent on this lap with that lap time and that speed, and wow, maybe Ricky is gunning for another podium position finish, and here we are. Remember, we talked a little bit ago about the 2 hour mark. Here's where the tail of the tape is. This is where the real race really starts to take place and unfold here for us.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, that brotherly competition for that podium spot.
Well, I can tell you one thing right now. Stu is not going to give it up for his little brother. I promise you that. And I think the same thing goes for Grant.
Yep.
They probably. And, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they could push each other to the front of the pack someday and be the elite riders that everybody was trying to and that's what a lot of people expected whenever we watched them grow up through the ranks, until Stu's injury a few years ago, which kind of slowed him down, I think, a little bit in his progression.
You know, but it's good that he's come back from that, because a lot of people doubted that he would be able to, and he said, I will. And, you know, he's had some gnarly injuries and had a lot of work done, and he's back.
Yeah, he really surprised me at 6 days this year. He had some really solid days, and you know, even the days that weren't in his favor, you know, the dusty, dry, silty days, he was still right up there putting in some solid time. So he surprised me there, and I'm pretty happy for him for how well he's come back.
Well, right now, 2 hours and 5 minutes, I believe, is what we're looking at. 2:05:40, approaching the 2:06 mark.
Our leaders due in less than 6 minutes now. Last time around, it was Thad Duvall out front of Caleb Russell. He made that pass in the pits when Caleb had to do a pit stop there real quick. But we see the change taking place there, and Caleb is back out front. As far as the XC2 Pro Lights class is concerned, Lane Michael dropping back to 10th place overall after some time adjustments. Looked like a bad hard lap there, the 28:09 lap time. I think he had some issues, but he continues to lead the XC2 Pro Lights class right now over Ben Kelly, or excuse me, over Craig DeLong. I keep saying Ben Kelly because he now moved into the XC1 class, but Craig DeLong running in second, Trevor Bollinger in third in that Pro Lights class, Vance Francis and Josh Toth now rounding out the top 5. Josh, again, going over and talking to these fresh faces, trail jesters out of New England area, making a dabble, if you will, in 2015 for GNCC Racing, being able to dedicate themselves to the Trail Jesters team in 2016 and earned themselves factory rides. That is a Cinderella story right there.
Okay, here we go. Right now we're out in the big grass cornfield out front, and it's Thad Duvall in the lead with Caleb Russell in second. But you can throw a blanket over them.
We might get to see a pass take place right here. This might be some excitement, the types of things we like to look for. And I'm sure if Caleb knows he's on TV right now, he might try to do something for the highlights reel.
As you can see, they're really not using the same lines, but they are. Caleb was just a foot over, just in case that would make a mistake, and right there it is.
Yeah, wow.
Left the door
Thread
open.
that needle, didn't he?
Yep, he left the door open, and Caleb just took it right away from underneath him.
Well, Thad Duvall now dropping back to the number 2 spot. I believe they'll be diving into the pits here in just a few moments. We'll see whether or not any pit stops are made by either rider. I don't expect to see Caleb so much pit stop this time around, but the big question is will Thad Duvall do it? We're not real sure about the mileage on these machines right now and how well they're performing, and right now will be the tell and tell that story for us, I believe, whenever we see these guys rolling through. Is that them there coming around the corner? I believe the camper just went right in front of.
Here they come right down the straight right now.
Okay. All right, that wasn't them, but we saw two guys that close and that tight. There they go. Neither rider stopping in the pits this time around. As we said, we didn't expect for Caleb to. Didn't know what strategy that the number 5 was going to be using here of Thad Duvall, but he maintains and stays out there in that, just shadowing the defending and newly crowned champion for the 4th time there, Caleb Russell.
And then I noticed one thing, Rodney, the last few laps they've had a big pit board at the KTM semi there hanging on the side like a little NASCAR one that says P1 plus whatever. This time they didn't need it.
Right. He wouldn't have had time to stop and look at it anyway, I don't think.
Caleb knows right where he's at, so they had no use for it.
Well, again, this is hour 3 we're rolling into. We're now 5 minutes into that. Still waiting to air the pits for 3 minutes or so, a couple more minutes anyway, for the Baylor boys. The brothers Baylor, the 514 and the 314. Ricky Russell now up into the number 5 spot aboard the 212. We'll see how close he is to the action that is going on in there between the Baylor boys battle for 3rd. Well, Taylor, I understand that you've got a flight you got to go catch, and you got to take off and head back out to back out west, I guess, huh?
Yeah, headed back to Arizona. I took the last flight out today so I could catch as much of the race as I could. But yeah, awesome time being here, calling the race with you guys. It was really good. Bummed I can't watch these guys come through the last lap, but you can guarantee I'll be watching live timing on my way to the airport.
Hey, you can pull it up on your phone and watch RacerTV. Go to RacerTV.com and you can watch the feed all the way to the airport.
All right, perfect. I'll do that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man. Congratulations and thanks
Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, you too.
Hey, quit doing those backflips.
Need the pit crew of Rick Burton. The pit crew of Rick Burton to report to the finish line, please. The pit crew of Rick Burton to please report to the finish line. And Johnny Gallagher, your seat is open. I'd like to get over here, man, because I'm sure that Johnny's got some pretty interesting takes on what's going on. The one thing that I like about Johnny being out and about, he gets a lot of information and a lot of detail. I mean, he knows. I mean, he just stops and talks to everybody. He gets all the details, and he'll be able to afford us a lot of great information, I think, that we're not savvy or privy to at this particular moment, Fred. And I can't wait for Johnny to make it back in here right now. We are looking at 2 hours and 10 minutes.
And if I'm not mistaken, I just saw Ricky Russell coming by, and he was ahead of Grant Baylor.
Wow. There you go.
So
And
they're coming down pro row right now, so we'll be able to get another good take. But I see the MCS Suzuki guy, Obermeyer guy, out there right now waiting for his guys to come. But I believe Grant Baylor's actually fallen back one position.
Well, we're going to find out for ourselves once again and get a reacquaint ourselves with that view and see what exactly is going on. You're right. The MCS Obermeyer Suzuki rider is, our team member is out there with pit board and ready to do, well, it looks like whatever needs to be done, like get in this pit or whatever it is they're going to do. I don't know. Maybe he's just there for moral support. It's a water bottle. Just going to give him water, it looks like. There's Stu Baylor, I think, rounding the corner right now. 5:14 in third place. There's
Ricky Russell, fourth place. But he's got no goggles on, I don't think, Rodney.
Really, yeah. So what happened to Grant? I didn't see Grant go by there on the 314.
Nope. There's Grant.
There's Grant. So he's fallen back a little bit. Could have been a mistake. Might have been an extended pit stop down there for him. But Ricky Russell into the pits. He's in now to fourth place. And he split the Baylor boys. So it's a Russell sandwich with Baylor bread here, it looks like, for the third, fourth, and fifth place positions heading into the final few laps here. We'll be wrapping up in just a moment lap 5. That means we'll have lap 6 and 7 still to go. So I believe that we will be seeing a 2-lap board this time around.
Yeah, and you can see some more guys. There's Corey Buttrick coming through on the infield right now. He's putting in a good ride today. And yeah, Rodney, we should be getting a 2-lap board right now. And maybe Johnny will get back here with us. And you know, like I always say, when you're in the pit over there with all the mechanics and stuff, you can learn some stuff that we don't know out here. So yep, the 2-lap board is out. There's Caleb Russell going through the finish. Thad Duvall in second, right on his tail, and it's 2 laps to go. We got a barn burner going on here today.
Yeah, Taylor Robert off and rolling back to Arizona. He said, again, just want to congratulate him and thank him for what he did for Team USA and how he helped, complete the dream for so many folks. I know Mama Caselli was here. She was so excited, so happy for everybody that was able to do that. She was standing there by that trophy that her son and her husband, her late husband, as a matter of fact, they had dreams of since Kurt was a little boy, of bringing that trophy to the United States. And even though neither one of them saw that, she got to see it. She knows their dreams came true, and that's got to be a special moment, a special time for her. Well, Megawatt stepping in for just a moment. I got to go take care of something real quick. But, buddy, I mean, right now, here we are in the critical part of this race for everybody, I think. Thad Duvall, Caleb Russell, and even the guys back here battling for third, Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, and Grant Baylor, who are third, fourth, and fifth place now.
Yeah, and as we just saw, Lane Michael just now went by on the screen, so he's coming through the cornfield. He's coming to Pro Row, and he's still leading the XC2 class with Craig DeLong in second place on that Coastal Husqvarna 4-stroke this weekend, something different for him, with Trevor Bollinger right behind him. So it'd be interesting to see if Trevor Bollinger is actually catching up to little Craig DeLong or not.
You know, Fred, I lost track of a few things there a minute ago. I was talking to some of the track workers there a minute ago, but you know what? We had an amazing set of school visits this weekend, something we like to do here, and you know all about our school visits. And actually, we had a pair of school visits on Friday. And Poston Road Elementary, I believe that's the home of Bob Sloan, the Ironman himself. That was his school. And then, of course, over here at Crawfordsville Elementary in the afternoon, or Sugar Creek Elementary, I'm sorry. And I believe we have a couple clips of those visits, man, who had a great time. And there you have it, guys. I tell you, a lot of fun. Want to send a shout out to the Poston Elementary Schools and Sugar Creek Elementary School students that are here, and staff and faculty, and want to thank them for inviting us into their school for a great program. And a lot of fun was had by all, and I think that you can see right there on the video that the kids just fired up. Had a lot of things going on, as a matter of fact. It was a Friday. They had Halloween coming up, and man, oh man, they had dirt bikes on the gymnasium floor, Fred.
Man, that's talking about some fun. I seen everybody there jumping up and down, yelling and screaming, having a good time, and that's what it's about, you know, go in there, talk about the bullying situation, how that's not good for everybody, and just having a good time, because most assemblies you go to aren't fun, and the kids want to fall asleep and not be there, and when GNCC comes to town, we have a great one. Everybody's excited to have it.
Man, there wasn't nobody falling asleep in those visits, that's for sure. But back to the action on the track now. Looks like we've got a little bit of real estate being picked up there, and I believe that second place a while back. Looks like Caleb able to close just a little bit. But the interesting thing is Stuart Baylor moving up a bit on the track position, as well as Grant slipping back. Just heard a report from the track workers a minute ago. Don't know if it was a bobble or what, but Grant just, you know, losing just a little bit of time. Nothing significant, but had dropped back just a touch.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know. I'm back with you here, and there's a few things that I noticed while I was out there. I don't know if it's a case so much of Grant slipping backward as it is Ricky Russell charging forward. Ricky Russell obviously was, I don't technically know if he got our XC1 hole shot, but he was the first rider into the woods and the first rider back out of the woods. Let me tell you what I think happened. Ricky Russell got out front. Ricky Russell got pumped up. Ricky went to the back real quick. And what he's been doing since then has been slowly, methodically charging his way forward. And I'll be honest with you guys, I had the thought on the second lap, I thought, man, that really is a shame for Ricky. 2 podiums in a row, and he's nowhere near even close to making that happen today, and it's not going to happen. Well, the next thing I know, I don't know what exactly I'll develop with Jordan Ashburn, but he was up there obviously well in that third place spot, quite a bit of a lead over fourth. Then all of a sudden, he's back there in that battle for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, and all those guys are right together. And the guy that looks the best to me right now is Ricky Russell. He's on the charge. Stu Baylor obviously in that third place spot looking great. Although Ricky doesn't have goggles on, he doesn't seem too concerned about it. He's interested in one thing, and that's going forward and putting that MCS Suzuki back up on the podium again today.
Now, I know most of these guys, you know, they have access to the tracks, the motocross tracks. I don't know Ricky's background, but let me tell you something. He was over the bar and charging that track, man. He was making passes on the outside, Johnny, using the momentum, keeping the motor alive.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed, the difference with Ricky, obviously, as we are. I don't know exactly what our race time is right now, 2 hours and 10 minutes in, so we're, you know, under an hour left in this thing. And a lot of these guys are starting to look a little bit fatigued. Now, keep in mind, these guys are world-class athletes. They train incessantly. They are prepared. They are properly nutritioned. They are properly hydrated. And these guys look beat. Ricky Russell looks fresh. He's charging, he's motivated, and he almost looks angry.
That was my point, man. When he hit that motocross track, you're right. He almost had a point to prove.
Well, that, and I think he's got so much confidence going after these last 2 races when he did come from the back and get on the podium. Now he says, hey, I need to be there week in, week out, and he's doing exactly what Johnny said. He's coming back through the pack. He's already passed Grant Baylor, so he's in 4th place, and he's setting his sights on Stu Baylor.
You know, I'll tell you what, we're looking at Ironman Hill here, and if you look at the far upper right of your screen, I'm nearly certain that that is Jesse Ansley that is stuck and off his bike at the top of Ironman Hill being helped by spectators. So I believe that's the leader in our 200A class. He's on his way and going. I wouldn't swear to it, but I'm 90% sure that that is him.
Wow.
So that goes to show you, anybody can get stuck on that hill.
Absolutely. You know, that little 125 just running out of just a little bit of juice there at the top. He probably tried to clutch it, save it, downshift, and he came to a stop. The spectators grabbed onto it and saved him from having to go back down and make a second effort for sure.
The human chain has saved us all at one time or another. I will promise you that.
You know, I wish they would have got a hold of me yesterday. Unfortunately, it wasn't through any fault of my own. We had there was quite a glare in your eyes coming up. It wasn't Ironman Hill. It was one of the other hills. It wasn't even that difficult, but it was cupped out at the top, and Jay Shadron in front of me came to a stop unexpectedly. And when I got to the top, I never saw him. My bike just came to a stop. I flipped over the front, and my bike went straight to the bottom. Oh, Trevor Bollinger in the pits. We're getting the word right now. Helmet off, and he is off the machine. We're going to see if Megawatt can go and get an update on exactly what's going on over there in the JCR pits. You know, Fred, that's got to be frustrating. Obviously, the championship clinch. He's got that #1 plate. A great run for him at St. Clairsville just a month ago at our last round. Today, he came here, and I heard through the grapevine, I didn't hear it from his own mouth, but I heard that he was here to prove a point today. He's been beaten the last couple races. People think he's just in championship conservation mode, which is obviously good and smart. But today, I think Trevor Bollinger was out there trying to win this race and was really giving it everything he had to try and run down Lane Michael, who's just been untouchable these last couple races.
Yeah, you know, Trevor didn't get the start he probably wanted. Lane got the start, so Lane was out there like a rabbit, and Bollinger was coming through trying to catch him. As far as being in championship mode, sometimes you have to be that way to be a champion. You know, he's champion, so nobody can take anything away from Trevor Bollinger and the JCR Honda team. My hat's off to them. They're a championship. If sometimes you don't go as fast as you need to win, well, you don't have to. You're there for the big picture, for the championship. And like you said, today, the championship was already won. So, yeah, he came here to win, and he did the best he can. It's going to be interesting to see what Megawatt finds out, what happened to him. But GNCC racing, anything can happen. You know, we saw yesterday with Adam McGill. Adam McGill had a big lead, hit a rock, and broke a spindle off his quad and didn't win. So you have to be easy on your bike, too. You got to go fast, but you also have to worry about keeping your machine running.
Certainly, and absolutely, and I think that was kind of maybe my point was misconstrued by the way I said it. But you know, Trevor Bollinger obviously did exactly what he needed to do the last couple races to clinch that championship around early, which is obviously a feat in and of itself. But I think here today, he made it clear both with his actions and his words that he was here to win today. It was going to be his last race in XC2. From what we know, he will be moving up to the XC1 class next year, based on, I think he's still young enough to stay in the XC2 class, but he's been in the top 10 2 years in a row now, which puts him solidly in that XC1 class for 2017. You know he wanted to win that last race, so unfortunately, an early departure from the race. We'll get an update when we can and see exactly what's going on down there in the JCR pits.
Yeah, and I also think it's time for him to move up. I mean, he's been finishing the top 5 week in, week out from the XC2 class, so he deserves to be in that XC1 class, and he's going to fit right in.
Absolutely, and another thing while we're talking about Trevor Bollinger, he's actually going to be the rider representing GNCC and representing the United States in the JNCC, which I believe typically is the series finale coming up here real soon. He'll be traveling over to Japan, which is a prestigious honor for Trevor, and obviously for GNCC to have a rider over there and represent this series in a series that admittedly is molded much after GNCC. You know, Fred, we've seen it over the years. Those guys have kind of taken a page out of the GNCC playbook, not only in their name, but also in just about all that. We see Megawatt is down there with Trevor Bollinger. Looks like Bollinger is talking with Johnny Campbell right now, so I don't know if we're ready with that update or if...
My guess from his hand gesture was it looks like he said he was going straight and somebody came over on the side of him. Did you see that, Johnny?
Yeah.
As a rider, you probably caught that.
Yeah, he was saying somebody took the line that he thought was rightfully his. We see Eric Sorotin, that is Johnny Campbell. Looks like Matt Megawatt Watson is down there, and we'll see if he's... yeah, we can definitely see there was some contact made. Megawatt, if you can hear us, are we able to get an update?
Hey, guys. Hey, I'm down here in the pits with Trevor Bollinger right now. Trevor had a little bit of misfortune out there, a little bit of bad luck. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I got off to a decent start, and I think I was second the first lap or whatever, and I was riding good, feeling good, and Ian Blith, I don't know, he's like last in XC1, decided to be a hero and jump off this creek and like T-bone me and landed on a rock or whatever and messed my hand up. I tried to keep riding, but I just couldn't hold on with all the braking bumps. I couldn't use my front brake and could barely throttle, so it kind of sucks, you know. I wanted third overall. That's the whole reason, you know, I was pushing so hard. But it's whatever. We'll come back next year and be stronger.
Better just to call it quits right now instead of taking any chances with that hand, huh?
Yeah, I tried to ride, but I just kept. I mean, I was riding like a B pace out there, so I couldn't go any faster than that. It just hurt so bad. So, you know, we didn't lose much. Just a pride thing for me, and we'll be out here next year and in XC1 and, you know, make a name for ourselves again.
Trevor, we know you're definitely a proud guy, man. We know you're as tough as they come, and sorry it ended this way today, and we'll talk to you real soon, bud.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, back to you guys.
Wow, well, that's thanks for Trevor having to connect with another rider and end up on the losing end and, you know, get hurt and hit his hand, but that's part of the racing. We got lappers out there, and everybody's going fast, and everybody's trying, so it's an unfortunate accident, but like he said, we'll see him next year.
Did you see that? We got a ghost ride at the Ironman Hill.
And hopefully Trevor's hand's not too bad where he can go over to the JNCC and race for us. You know, I know the JNCC, they open their doors up and welcome us over there and give us, you know, roll out the red carpet and take great care of us, so hopefully he gets to go over there and gets to
represent, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, represent or just see how cool they are to us. It's like we are to them. When they come here, you know, we open our arms up to them and take care of them and, you know, make them part of our family, and they want to do the same for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And any of the, I know we have some JNCC fans that tune in to GNCC Live on RacerTV.com, and you know, it's obviously quite a difference in time right now. I think it's the middle of the night over there, but if you're at home and you're watching, obviously we appreciate all you guys tuning in. We appreciate you bringing a rider over each year to represent GNCC at the JNCC final. An awesome gesture on your part, and we'll look forward to seeing how Trevor can do over there. I'm sure that he'll get that hand checked out, and hopefully it'll be all good to go, all systems go. He'll get loaded up, get on a plane, and head over there to check out the difference in racing and the difference in culture. You know, as we watch here Ironman Hill, Fred, we can see these roots are just really getting exposed. We saw one of our lap riders there working their way up Ironman Hill. They hit that route, and he knew he wasn't going to make it, but he wanted to make sure that the bike made it. So he did the old famous ghost ride, and he sent the bike over the top, and the chain of spectators, the human chain, they pulled him up, and he got back on that machine and took off. And you know, that's really a throwback to the old days. We opened this thing up with the reference to the 100-miler series, and you know, that was the courses back then were a little bit. You know, and this is one thing I have thought about, Fred, and if you ever really think about this, I don't know that the courses were actually any tougher. As we watched Caleb Russell jump all the way up over the top, Thad Duvall behind him. There it is, the famous Thad Duvall wheel tap. We've seen him do that so many times, and folks, that's the difference between a top XC1 rider and a very accomplished A or B class rider. You know, they watch Thad and Caleb go up there, wheel tap right over the top, and they say, oh, that looks easy, I can do that. Not as easy as it looks.
That too, Johnny, we're 2 hours and 26 minutes into this race, so everybody's starting to get a little bit tired because most of these people, they work all week long. They come out here on the weekend and have fun. They don't get to train all weekend like the top pros do. So you're a little bit fatigued. You hit that route. Well, you're not quite holding on as tight as you were the lap before, and there goes the front end. And
you get those jello arms and those, whether it's 250 cc's, 450 cc's, even 125 cc's can seem like a whole lot of machine. 2 hours and 25 minutes into this race, and we'll be watching for those guys. We know they've gone up over the top of Ironman Hill, so not too far until they'll be whipping their way out into that famous Ironman field section. There's a rider that, although it wasn't one of your top overall guys, he made that hill look easy. Obviously got some hill climbing abilities. Might be an old West Virginia boy there. You just never know. With the beauty of GNCC is we've got riders here from all over the nation and all over the world competing. Obviously, we've highlighted some of our amateur riders a little bit earlier in the show and run down the lists. And as we run down through now, the top 10 in our overall currently are Caleb Russell, Thad Duvall, Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, Grant Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, Russell Bobbitt, Corey Buttrick, and Lane Michael, your XC2 leader, is rounding out. He's actually 9th overall. Benjamin Kelly is rounding out the top 10.
And the thing that I think interesting right here is Ricky Russell is only 12 seconds behind Stu Baylor going down this last lap. So Ricky Russell is still making that last race charge right now. He's still moving
You
forward.
look at lap times, too. You see that 26:27 for Ricky Russell, 26:44 for Stu Baylor. So unless Stu picks it up a little bit, Ricky might be able to start knocking on the door. And some of these camera shots we're going to be seeing coming up here pretty soon, we may very well get to see that battle unfold for that final podium position. And this will make, at least 3 races in a row, if I'm not mistaken, that Ricky Russell will have been on the podium and fought from the back to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the one thing you could say is a lot of people made the comment in Masontown when Ricky was there. You know, there was a few riders that had some issues, and you know, even Ricky himself said, hey, that might have normally been a 5th place ride, but I'm pumped to be on the podium. I'm happy for myself. I'm happy for my team. Well, then he came and he backed it up at Powerline again, and it was like, okay, well, you know, and again, there might have been a few guys that had issues. Today, we've got all of our top dogs out there not really having any issues, and Ricky Russell is looking to put it on the podium again. So it's really hard to argue the fact that when you do something 3 times in a row, that's not just a trend. That's what you call a reality, and it's going to keep happening with a guy like Ricky Russell.
Yeah, the reality of it is that Ricky's coming gunning, man. There's no doubt about it. And Rough and Rowdy is about to show just how rough and rowdy he can get. I think 2017 is going to be a big year for him.
Absolutely, you know, and it's awesome to see the general vibe. You know, Rodney, you've talked about it so much today and all weekend of this event. You know, we see guys like Ricky coming into their own. We see, you know, yesterday guys on the overall podium for the first time. We've seen a record turnout, and you know, this really is Mototown USA.
It is, and you're right. The crowds that we've seen this weekend that have come in and help celebrate the awesomeness that has been taking place is just amazing. And, you know, we've been coming here 2005, this will be officially 21 years, but we're heading into our 22nd year. So this is our 22nd running of the Ironman GNCC, and it has become a literal tradition here in Montgomery County for this Ironman GNCC. And we had a chance to send the camera crew out earlier in the weekend to check out some of the things happening in and around Crawfordsville and Montgomery County.
Small town for sure. Everyone is very close knit. We get so many visitors in that it really helps the downtown area. So many people come in for the race. They get to see what Montgomery County has to offer. And it's really just a great opportunity to kind of increase the amount of visitors that come here. And they can see somewhere new. It's a chance to show off all the new things that have happened from the previous year. And people really do come together.
And thank you, Crawfordsville, Indiana, for the homecoming that you give us each and every week. It's like coming back home every week. There's neighbors here of the property that I go see and visit all the time, man, just simply because we've come that acquainted over time. And this is a very special place indeed. There's no doubt about that. Well, right now, as we continue to motor along here in the race, we just got some updates out on the course. We were talking about that battle heating up in the number 3 spot with Stu Baylor, feeling and should be feeling pressure from Ricky Russell. Well, we just got a radio report that Russell, I think, had gotten around Baylor for just a moment, but Russell having some issues, and he went down, so Baylor's now got that 3rd place secured, if I understood that correct.
Actually, the update was that he had caught Stu Baylor, but then had gone down, and now Grant Baylor was around Ricky Russell.
Oh, Grant Baylor.
And had moved Ricky back to 5th.
Okay.
So Ricky was in 4th, had closed up on Stu Baylor.
That's
and,
the Baylor,
was
okay.
running him down, and then unfortunately went down, obviously somewhere on camera or somewhere that, of course, officials saw it. They radioed it in, said he was down. Grant Baylor was able to get by, taking over the 4th place spot. So now, before we had Ricky Russell in a Baylor sandwich, and now we have him as one of the buns on the sandwich, and it's a Baylor sandwich. But, you know, interesting point about that is if you look at Ricky's history, since he's moved here from Washington State, he's been living a lot of his time in South Carolina. I know this year he's spending quite a bit of more time here in Indiana as we watch Caleb Russell out in the cornfield section working his way to what will be a white flag here in just a few moments. Caleb looks great, and he is still charging because, as we know, somewhere lurking just behind him is that number 5 KR4 Husqvarna of Thad Duvall. He's not willing to give up on this one. We saw what he was capable of just a few weeks ago at the Powerline Park GNCC. We saw what these guys did together at ISDE just even a shorter few weeks ago, and now they're back to being adversaries rather than teammates. And although they've kept it clean, you know neither one of these guys wants to let the other have the victory.
Well, John, not to interrupt you, it looks like something's happened to Thad Duvall because Caleb Russell's come through the infield right here through the cornfield and headed towards Pro Row, and there's still no Thad Duvall in sight.
There is Thad Duvall finally on screen, but he has dropped a ton of time. He is upwards of 30 seconds down from Caleb Russell. I hate to say it, but when you give Caleb Russell a lead like this, I think it's safe to say this one is over, folks. It looks as though Thad still is in charging hard, so you have to wonder what exactly happened. You know, barring some kind of a major mishap on this last lap, these guys have been right together and battling all day long, and now Caleb Russell has been able to stretch it out.
I have to wonder, though, if maybe we didn't have a little bit of lap traffic maybe come into this one and come into play. I mean, this makes you wonder. I'm not saying that's what happened by no stretch of the imagination, but a lot of wonders, especially with the way things are going out there right now. Chelsea, what was those names one more time? Got a couple of folks that need to go to rider registration. Derek Clary or Abigail Music to the finish line. Derek Clary or Abigail Music to the finish line. If you can make your way there, please, we would appreciate that. And right now we continue to wait here at the finish line basically in about a little over 5 minutes or so. White flag will be coming out. But again, the big questions now, we'll be watching. There's Caleb Russell coming through.
That's Thad Duvall. He just got a drink from his mechanic, and he did not stop for fuel. So they must have had plenty of fuel left the first time they stopped him.
That must be the strategy. So
and Caleb's already gone through, of course.
Caleb's already gone through. Thad's stopping in there, as he said, for a quick drink of water there. So
The gap from a 1.5 second gap now has stretched out quite a bit, about 20, 30 seconds or so is what we're going to estimate it at this point. But 3 minutes behind them is what we're watching and waiting for to see. Can Ricky Russell remount, get back into the number 4 spot around Grant Baylor? Will Grant Baylor find the speed and start to catch up to Stu? Now, we got to take into account here, isn't Grant another, and we've talked about it before, Grant is another one of those riders that seems to get stronger as the race wears on, and he's in a pretty good position. We've seen him in this position before, and we've seen him move in and take over podium position spots in the past. And this is a good scenario that we got going on here, because we've got 3 riders that are doing well here in the latter part of the race, Grant being one of those. This could get pretty interesting, because Ricky's another one too that's been pushing lately.
Absolutely, you know, and that was what I was starting to talk about, is these 3 guys have spent a lot of time together. You know, they both live, or all 3 of them live down in that South Carolina area quite a bit. Obviously, Ricky Russell has been up in Indiana most of this season, but the first several seasons he spent here on the East Coast, he was really close with the Baylors, even traveled with them quite a bit, trained with them some. So these are 3 guys that are familiar with each other on and off the track. They know each other's techniques, they know each other's styles, they know each other's strengths, they know each other's weaknesses. So all 3 of these guys, and obviously with Grant and Stu, you can't get any closer than that. 2 brothers that travel together, ride together. You know, they don't ride for the same team, but nonetheless, just about everything else they do is very similar. I mean, you know, from a distance, you can't even tell them apart sometimes. So it's, you know, it's interesting to see these guys battling over this final podium spot, and I think we're going to have ourselves a barn burner this last lap. And as we wait and we watch for them, you know, we've talked about so many times here recently, Rodney, with Stu Baylor was, you know, on top of his game 4 years ago, give or take. You know, he was winning XC2 championships. He came to XC1. He struggled with injuries. He struggled with a lot of things. And a lot of people wrote Stu off. You know, he had to have a surgery to fuse some bones together in his wrist that has ended more careers than possibly anything in all of motocross and off-road racing in the history of time. And here is Stu Baylor outside or inside of 2 years after that surgery, not only up, you know, last year we saw him have some top 5s and working his way into the top 10, and look at this. Here is, this answers the question as to whether or not, you said, is Ricky Russell going to mount another charge? He says, damn the front number plate, I don't need that thing, I'm going to the front.
Well, there you go. He is laying chase hard, there's no doubt about that. So Ricky Russell, man on a mission right now.
And it looks like Grant Baylor has also gotten around Stu, so now it's Ricky Russell in 3rd, Grant Baylor in 4th, and we believe Stu Baylor in 5th.
Well, back to elaborate on what you were talking about with Stu, I did catch up with Stu after the Tomahawk GNCC earlier this season, and that was when he was still fresh and sore and things like that. And I talked to him, and, you know, he seemed to be kind of both positive and not so positive at the same time. He was a little let down that he was not, white flag going out, by the way, as our leaders are going through right now, but he was let down with the fact that he wasn't able to heal and get to the position where he wanted to be, and the fact that this was taking more out of him than what he realized. He also was taken a little bit down because he knows the struggles that he faces, and he also said that his conditioning level suffers from it because of the extreme pain and stuff that he has to ride in. And, you know, I was kind of leading him and wondering, does this mean that we're going to see something let you disappear? No, he said that's just the opposite. I'm going to keep trying and keep digging. That's what he's doing.
Hold on, folks. I think that we had some bad information here. We were told that Ricky Russell had worked his way around both Baylors. I was watching that field section, waiting for Stu Baylor to come through, and Stu Baylor came through VP Fuels Pro Row, and he was ahead of Ricky Russell. So Stu Baylor's still in that 3rd place spot, and Ricky Russell in 4th. Unless what I'm seeing on camera was wrong, it is Ricky Russell still in that 4th place spot. So here's the guy that you're talking about that isn't able to train, isn't able to get quite to where he feels he needs to be, and we thought he had faded back, and he's still running in 3rd.
No doubt. That is just utterly amazing. And for the likes of the race fan of Richie Carcycle to see something like this here today, you know he's got to feel pretty good. He's an ATV motocross fan. Come out here to GNCC to watch here today. He's an actual racer, believe it or not.
I was in the booth with you here. It was maybe last year when we were announcing the ATV National. I remember him coming by.
Yeah, he's definitely a character. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. So you got to get out there. You got to have some personality. You got to cheer folks on. These guys are out here doing it for 3 hours. They need all the the motivation they can get.
They most certainly can. Speaking of motivation, what is Stu Baylor's motivation? Remember I talked about just a moment ago, talking about how it was taking so much out of him. And he even mentioned that late in the race is when it was really taking its most toll, when he felt the most pain and stuff. And here we are late in the race. We've got Caleb Russell through with his 6th lap. He's got the white flag, so he's rolling in. That has dropped off according 49 seconds, almost 50 seconds back there. So he's still comfortable in that second place position, and you can't take away from anything. We've seen great strides out of Thad today, so we can't say anything that this was a bad day or a bad ride. Yeah, he might come up a little short. Still not over yet, but you know, he might turn things around this last lap. But this 3rd place position is where the excitement has been basically all day long. There for a while we were wondering whether Lane Michael was going to be able to be in that position. He rode for 2.5 laps in that before he dropped from 4th back to the number 10 spot.
You know, I gotta say, this guy sitting next to me, Fred Andrews, you know, he said something at the beginning of the show about, you know, the XC2 guys, how sometimes they'll get up into that top 3 overall podium spot, but then the XC1 guys start pushing. And I think a lot of people listen to that and they think of it as maybe a slam on the XC2 guys, and that is certainly not the case. I know exactly what Fred was saying, and I kind of chuckled to myself. You know, Lane Michael is absolutely shredding out there. He's rolling. He's flying. He did nothing wrong. He made no mistakes. He's pulling away from the rest of the XC2 class, including Trevor Bollinger, the champion, including all of the other riders in that class. And all of a sudden, he drops from running a 4th place overall spot to getting absolutely yarded 2 or 3 laps in a row by this snarling pack of XC1 guys, which at one point included our Ricky Russell, Grant Baylor, Stu Baylor, Corey Buttrick, Chris Bach. There was 5 guys, and Jordan Ashburn. So you had 6 guys that were all pushing each other, and that just goes to show the depth of the talent in that XC1 class. Those guys they're not out there just racing each other. They're racing the clock. They know they're racing those XC2 guys, and when they wick it up, that's the difference between the XC1 class and every other class on the course.
You know, believe it or not, Johnny, all that starts at 8 o'clock in the morning about 15 years ago. You know what I'm talking about? Those guys 10 years ago or so, whenever those guys made their way through the youth ranks, 7 years ago, whatever the case may be, however long it was they were there and how long it took them to get out there. But the important thing is that they grew up. They are true products of GNCC, so they know the game and they know how to fight it. We have some guys that know how to fight it as well this morning. We had another gnarly battle out there. We had over 150 youth riders on the starting line at 8 o'clock this morning. Peyton Whipke was able to take the overall win at this one. We were able to catch up with him.
We're here with this morning's overall winner, Peyton Whipke. Peyton running second most of the day. Came through on this last lap with a big win, man. Tell us how it happened.
Oh, I almost got the whole shot, and then Tanner Collins went down right in front of me, and I tried to just push, and then Michael Beeler caught me, and me and him went at it, and I made a little mistake, and he got like 10 seconds on me, and then last lap he blew up, and I just got around him.
Peyton, you mentioned you were, satisfied riding in second place, but that's why you ride 110%. You were in the right place at the right time, and man, you come out of here with a huge win today. How does that make you feel at the end of the season?
It's awesome. They always say it's good to end on a good note, and I definitely did.
Man, you certainly did. Congratulations on a huge win here today.
Thank you.
Man, it's hard to believe that we were talking with and interviewing the Baylor boys and those guys, Grant Baylor, Stu Baylor, Jordan Ashburn, talking about Corey Buttrick, Lane Michael, all those guys we were interviewing there in those youth ranks just a few short years ago. Now here they are out there, and the path is laid out for Peyton Whipke now. I mean, he won the Ironman GNCC as a youth rider, so I'm sure he's going to want to try to achieve more as a GNCC racer in the future.
And go back a little bit further, we were interviewing guys by the name of Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell on our youth podiums, and now a couple of those guys, one of those guys is a multi-time GNCC overall champion, and both of those guys are ISDE champions.
Wow, that's amazing right there. That's a mouthful saying that, man. I mean, wow. I can remember 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a youth motorcycle race after the ATV races, and that was like 5 or 6 times a year, and that was it. And then all of a sudden, the world broke loose in the world of off-road as far as youth racing is concerned, and man, it's produced what we're watching here today. This is the product of all that,
yeah,
man, right there.
That's why our sport is getting so big. We're starting all the kids so young, and they enjoy it. It's such a great family sport that you can't get away from it. You start on a mini bike and you go all the way up.
That's it, folks. If you're wondering more about GNCC, want to know more about it, GNCCRacing.com on the World Wide Web. Find out where we go. Find out the things that we do. Be a part of the nation, my friends. Don't forget, we had our AMSOIL Twitter contest there throughout this show. $250 in AMSOIL product up for grabs. And look at this. We weren't the only ones that were KR557, Thaddy, and Lane Michael fans there in the top 3. Looks like Robert Woodcock was, as well as @Woody_the Great 2 is our AMSOIL Twitter contest winner. Now, he may not have the right picks as far as completely through the whole thing, but he still gets that because he did hashtag GNCC Live. Thanks, Robert Woodcock, Woody_the Great 2, and we'll be getting you information on how you can receive that AMSOIL product. And folks, we want to say thanks to AMSOIL for title sponsorship of GNCC, and of course for playing along in our Twitter contests like that. It has certainly been a lot of fun this year, and I'm looking forward to doing that and much more with AMSOIL in the future.
Absolutely. Rodney, you nailed it, when you were talking about, those contests and everything. I mean, when you talk about GNCC as a family, you talk about it as a sport, you talk about it as a happening, there's so many components that come together to make this all work. And, from the sponsors to the loyal customers, as Tim Goddard always calls them, which are the racers and the fans. This weekend, we've talked about it so many times, Crawfordsville, Mototown, USA. I still remember it, and it's obviously easy to be, and Fred, I think I know you would have been here too. 1995, I'm sorry, the first year we raced here. Let me tell you the one thing that sticks out in my mind about the first time we came here. Obviously for me, it was kind of an emotional weekend with it being the Bob Sloan Memorial Race. That's where the name Ironman comes from. Let me tell you something. I said to my dad as we drove into town, still coming the same way on 321 or 231, whatever it is, the road you come in on. And we came into town, and there was a sign in front of one of the restaurants that said, "Welcome GNCC Racing." And it was in an actual town. This wasn't like a gas station that, knew GNCC was coming to town and put up a little banner. This was a sign in an actual town with actual people in a real place. The very first time we came here, they opened up their arms, they opened up the town, and they welcomed GNCC Racing. And now here we are, 21 years later, without a question of a doubt. I'll say it because I can't be held accountable. This is the biggest off-road race in the world and always will be. There's no way anyone is ever going to beat this event, plain and simple.
I don't know if they do. My hat's off to them. I'll tell you that, because we have got something special. And speaking of something special right now, Caleb Russell on his way to likely win number 40 in his career. He is second on the all-time bike wins GNCC list behind Scott Summers at 46. He has 39 right now. So at the end of this race, if he wins that, it puts him 6 away from being the all-time wins record holder in GNCC. And he can do that theoretically by the midway point of 2017 if he goes out and wins the first half of the season, basically. That's some pretty big news, and that's some pretty big accomplishments, and that's something I think cool that we'll be watching for in the coming season for sure. Will he break that all-time wins record?
And he's so young, and he's got plenty more years to go. I mean, it's amazing how high is he really going to make it?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, what is the limit? Where does it all stop? And the same question you always wonder that about Chris Borch, who has 73 wins, working on 74. It's been 2 years though, man. I thought he was going to get it there yesterday. Yeah, it's so close. He had a little bit of issues, but yeah, man, this is some interesting stats here. But Caleb working on win number 40 here today, and that's pretty impressive. But again, I haven't heard anything in a while. I'm going to try to go out onto the racetrack. Track crew, we're watching this back.